All right, welcome. This is the Sherborn Select Board meeting of Thursday, January 22nd. It is 7:04 p.m. In attendance, we have Marion Neutra, Paul DeRensis, Jeff Waldron, and myself, Stephen Tsai. Absent is Dan Sickle, literally just had brain surgery yesterday. We're going to begin with an executive session. If I could have the town administrator please read the executive session agenda.
Sure. You have three items for executive session. Item number 1, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, where in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board, the chair so declares. Discuss strategy relative to health insurance in preparation for negotiations with public employee committee. Item number 2, strategy session to prepare for contract negotiations on bargaining unit employees going to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 2182, Fire Chief. And item 3, strategy session to prepare for contract negotiations with non-bargaining employee pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 2182, Town Council.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion relative to the?
Yeah, I move that we approve the executive session agenda as read by the assistant, or by the town administrator. Sorry.
Yeah, I second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, and as the chair, I do declare that executive session is necessary, and I move that we enter into executive session.
So you're turning the recording
Oh,
off.
second.
Second. All right, moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Marion?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Paul?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, and I'm aye. So we are now in executive session. If you can stop the recording. Sorry for the 10-minute delay. But is the recording back on?
Yes.
Great. All right, so this is now the open session of the Sherborn Select Board meeting of January 22nd, 2026. And I see Diane, the Assistant Town Administrator, is online. Can you read the open session agenda, please? You're muted, Diane.
Okay, sorry about that. So after I read the agenda, the board can vote to approve the agenda or amend the agenda. I've had no request for public comment tonight, and items can be taken out of order and topics not anticipated 48 hours in advance may be added. Item number 1 is the introduction and appointment of our new town clerk, John Doyle. Item number 2 is the Jameson Field Scoreboard acceptance of a gift. Item number 3 is the update from the Town Forest Committee. Item number 4 is a request for a reserve fund transfer for the Woodhaven Leland Farms Water Treatment Project. Item number 5 is discussion regarding town campus parcels. Item number 6 is the FY27 operating and capital budget and update and discussion, police, fire, DPW, and farm pond operating budget and capital projects. Item number 7 is a review of the draft warrant article checklist, which closes on tonight at 5 p.m. The consent agenda for the TA payroll warrant, and a 1-day liquor license for a private event for Jean Barry, the Black Harp.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I was going to call for a moment of silence at the beginning.
Okay.
And I would just that you may want to add town administrator updates and select board updates to your agenda.
Oh, yes. Right. We'll add that after the consent agenda. Okay. All right. So motions relative to the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. First off, I guess I would like to call for a moment of silence for the passing of Frank Jenkins. Thank you. Well, on a brighter note, item 1, introduction and appointment of town clerk John Doyle.
Welcome, John. Presenting John Doyle, and for your consideration and appointment this evening. John has a Master's of Public Administration from Clark University. He was a legislative aide and district director for Representative Mary Keefe. He's worked as an election supervisor for the city of Newton, and most recently he was the assistant city clerk for the city of Somerville. And we have the pleasure of introducing him to you and welcoming him to Sherborn.
Thank you very much. I don't know, do you want to say anything more to introduce yourself? And
Yeah, sure. So I guess I can add to some of what Jeremy said. Thank you, Jeremy, for the introduction. I appreciate it, and thank you all. Yeah, so I've got since getting my master's in 2022, I've done nothing but work in the public sector. I kind of made a decision 4 or 5 years ago. This is what I want my career to be. There hasn't really been any looking back since. My most relevant experience was probably City of Newton for 3 years working in elections. Somerville was great as well. I've been learning under Jackie for the past 3 days, and it's been a really good experience. Been a great smooth transition. Kelly and Tony in the office have been great. So far so good. And I would love to get your appointment. I'd be honored to get your appointment. And so far, Sherborn's treated me great, and I would love to return the favor and be a great town clerk for you guys.
Yeah, I want to say a couple of things because I was on the small search committee, and we were really impressed with John, and we figured not only his experience is great, but his personality is good. He's going to fit right in, and I'm sure he has in these 2 days already. But just, I want to give you, John, a little acknowledgement of welcome from the select board. This is a book of trails and hikes in Sherborn.
Oh my God, thank you so
Knowing that
much.
you like outdoors recreation,
I do.
you might as well enjoy playing as well as working in Sherborn.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Yes, I definitely plan on checking out Fight. I haven't been to Farm Pond yet, but I know that's kind of the jewel of Sherborn. So I look forward to checking it out and all the other trails around the town. Thank you so much.
there's a lot of trails.
The Bay Circuit Trail goes through parts of town too.
What's it called?
The Bay Circuit Trail goes the perimeter of Boston.
You can hike from here to Duxbury or Gloucester.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Sounds like quite the undertaking, but it's on the list.
But also, can I make a comment? So the first trustees of the reservation was here in Sherborn.
Oh.
So the trustees, which does all of Massachusetts, the first one was in Sherborn.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like a town that values green space and outdoor space. So I think it's really important. It's awesome.
Great.
So
Go ahead.
make a motion.
Sure.
Is the recommendation a 3-year term?
Yeah.
Well, I move that we appoint John Doyle as town clerk of the town of Sherborn for a 3-year term. Starting now.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome to Sherborn. Look forward to working with you.
Likewise. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jackie.
Has Jackie warned you about all of the weird personalities in this town?
Yes, I have. On the list.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, next item, Jameson Fields scoreboard acceptance of gift, Dave Welsh.
Yeah, good evening, Dave Welch, Recreation Coordinator. I'm here on behalf of the Recreation Commission. Dover Sherborn Youth Baseball, Softball has approached the Recreation Commission to consider a gift to upgrade the scoreboard at the Jameson 1 field at the Jameson Fields. Jameson 1 is our Little League field. This is a field that Dover Sherborn baseball softball has more than once over the past few years helped improve with other gifts, including most recently flagpole, as well as last spring in time for opening day lights that surround the field that allowed Sherborn to start playing evening baseball, which were used quite a bit last season. The Recreation Commission considered this item themselves at last week's meeting. They voted unanimously 3-0 to accept the gift. This gift has been vetted by the Conservation Commission as well as the building inspector, just to make sure that what they're asking for is something that we can do at this location, and everything is fine there. The gift also includes not only the old scoreboard and installing the new scoreboard, but also includes the cost of the electrician to both disconnect and reconnect the power after it is done. Operationally, we don't expect any significant change in cost or expense. If anything, there might be a small decrease as we move from incandescent bulbs on the old scoreboard to LEDs on the new scoreboard. I'm also joined here tonight by Guthrie, who's the president of Dover Sherborn baseball softball, and Bud can share some of the background behind the design and dedication that's on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, Dave. Thank you very much, and thanks to Steve, Marion, Jeff, Paul, and Jeremy, and of course Diane, for allowing me to speak. And I'll be quick. I know it's a busy agenda. Our program over the last 3-4 years has grown quite a bit, and as Dave mentioned, we've made substantial improvements to the field, and we were able to kind of fundraise to boost that effort, and really in all of it in an effort to make baseball and softball and enjoyable for the kids in this town, in Dover and Sherborn. One of the last things we just put in a flagpole. One of the last things that we felt that we needed to kind of do was revamp the scoreboard. The scoreboard has been there since I was in Little League 30 plus years ago. And it's something that, it needs to be updated. There's light bulbs that, didn't work or whatever. So we were able to fundraise, money to revamp the scoreboard and really we're going to make it blue for the Dover Sherborn colors. And it really just kind of, fill out that field the way it should be. And when I was younger in Little League, we originally dedicated the scoreboard to Tom Woodard, Tom was a Sherborn resident, who tragically passed away when I was 13 of cancer. And his son Charlie is a really good friend of mine, and they fundraised at that point and dedicated it to Tom. We're going to continue with that dedication to Tom Woodard. I've spoken to Tom's family. They're all going to be present at the opening day parade on May 2nd when we do the unveiling and the dedication. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we have proofs of what it's going to look like if you need it, but it's pretty sharp looking, and we're just going to continue to try to build out the family friendly atmosphere that Jameson Field has been for years, but it really has really come to a place to be, both during the day and at night. So I'll turn it over to everybody else. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks. Is there a timeline for the replacement?
Yep. So the scoreboard, the opening day parade is on May 2nd. So I have let the folks that we're using out of Mansfield know that we kind of want it installed at least like a week and a half before that. It's about a half a day project from what I've been told. We're literally lifting the old scoreboard off and putting the new one on. They're not re-drilling footings or anything like that. It's a pretty simple replacement.
And the existing electrical is fine?
Yep, the existing electrical is completely fine. We just need to get we'll work with Dave. We'll make sure we get an electrician in to get that permitted and approved, just to disconnect and connect.
Great, thanks. Any other questions from the board?
To make a motion to accept it, particularly with the score 4 in favor of all teams and 1 against. Like that. Move to
I second your motion, Paul.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right,
well done.
thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, item number 3, update from the Town Forest Committee. Steve Petty.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. The Town Forest Committee this year started off with a very sad beginning with passing of Dave Colleen on July 3rd. And just want to say that we miss him a lot. He was quite an involved person. He was Mr. Town Forest. He was on the committee for a long time, and I believe he was chairman for 18 years. So he was chasing you around, Paul, but I'm not sure he quite got as far as you have for a length of time. But we miss Dave a lot, and but we are continuing. We have had a very productive year. We after 2 years, finished a 1-year project of our logging operation that went from Hunting Lane to Prospect Street. The area's been cleaned up. We reseeded most of the major skid roads. We did get the stone wall back in place and looking even better than before on Hunting Lane by the parking area up there. So that's in very good shape. And pleased to say that both the state forester and the town consultant forester are very pleased with the final outcome of that logging. We also completed, thanks a lot to our DPW behind me, the parking area down on North Main Street, and it's seeing a lot of use. This spring, we hope to get the gate in so we won't have people thinking they can drive right on through, but it's being used a lot, so that's terrific. We've also been involved with 2 major projects, rating of invasives. A lot of it are in the red pine area, which is right there off of North Main Street, where we took the red pine out 3 or 4 years ago now. And we've had a firm working in there, and also actually had some involvement with Conservation Commission when we first started there. They're very interested in seeing a well-run, well-controlled application of chemicals, good for the environment, but other than just walking around snipping or pulling invasives, which doesn't work very well when you're trying to get rid of 5, 10, or 15 acres of invasives. And we had a very successful first application. We will be doing a second application this spring. And we also did a small application up in the area that was logged, where we found hints of new invasives. So we're working to control that. We also have spent the committee, and a lot of credit has to go to Nick Rodenhouse. We have spent a lot of time on a major master plan, stewardship plan, and that's being finalized right now. And I think that's going to be a great boost for the town, but it's going to be a very good blueprint for the Town Forest Committee to be following. Also, Nick Rodenhouse has been involved and gotten the committee quite involved in a project where we have mapped and cordoned off small areas in the town forest, in the logged area, the area that's recently logged. And these are about 8 by 8 or 10 by 10 plots. Half of them, there are about 6 areas that have been checked. Half the plots are fenced in, and the other half are not. Literally, we've gone in and inventoried every plant that's in that area. And what we're trying to determine is what effect deer are having and are going to have on inhibiting new growth in the town forest. And we're already seeing that we're going to have some problems, but we'll be working on that. And we also have been, Chief Ward and I started talking probably 8 months, a year ago, about a program to get some good signage in the town forest for emergency operations if somebody gets hurt or if there's a fire, but primarily for injuries in the town forest, the best access and mapping of the town forest for emergency use. And we've just discovered that there are a few people on Parks and Trail Association that have been thinking about and looking into the same thing. And they've been involved with the Carlisle Town Forest and found that Carlisle's already way ahead of us in this. So we're going to be working closely with them to get something really going here. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty darn good program. But that's where we stand for now. I think we're in pretty good shape. So any questions?
How's the sale of firewood going?
It's going fine, but the producers of the firewood are dwindling. So that's
Charlie Williams moved to Florida.
As I said to the advisory committee last year, that program started in the 90s, and now most of the people that cut wood are in their 90s. And we've just not been able to get many people to come in to replace those that are doing it. So I just don't think we can rely on the firewood program. We have been talking with, again, Forest and Trail Association. And one of our thoughts have been, why don't we start a Friends of Town Forest and do some fundraising? And then we thought, that's just going to compete with Forest and Trail, and they're very involved with the same things. And a lot of our, it's not expense, but if there's any money regularly spent in town forest, it's trail maintenance. And they do most of the trail maintenance. And they also help buy the signs that mark some of the trails. So they're very involved. And I think we're going to start a dialogue to see how we can help them raise more money, and some of that really can be for town forest and just work that way. So.
Yeah, Steve, I know you know what I'm going to say, but I'm most happy with your plan to work more closely with Sherborn Forest and Trail, because some of the things they've been trying to do for a long time, especially signage, street crossing signage. As Sean knows, there's a lot of overlap in goals and interests. So it always is best to be working together.
Yeah, we will. Anything else?
No, thanks for your time and your dedication to doing it, actually.
Yeah. It's one of the few committees I really enjoy.
If you're a former select.
So maybe I can ask a question. Could I ask a question? What can we do to help the town forest and the town forest committee?
Yeah, a really nice new log splitter, and you'll say, no, I think you've been supportive, and all your support has always been terrific of the town forest. So I think as long as we have the selectmen's support, we're going to continue to do well, and I think we're in good shape. I think we have a good board right now. So, and there are going to be some challenges ahead for how town forest is used. So we're going to have to keep working with that. But I think we're in good shape.
And you have an associate member right now as well, right?
We have three members and 3 associates.
And 3 associates.
Yes.
And have the associates been generally attending?
Very much.
Okay,
Very involved.
Great.
Perfect. No. Yes, they are all good.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much.
Wish you all. Best of luck, gentlemen.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have a budget?
Oh,
We don't have a budget that we can squeeze.
thank you.
All right, item 4, reserve fund transfer request for Woodhaven Leland Farms Water Treatment Project. Sean McLean?
Yeah, we will, defer tonight when we bring it back to the next meeting.
Great. Right, check that one off. Item 5, discussion regarding town campus parcels. Heidi Doyle. She is.
Yes, good evening. So in your packet, I have a description of what the town controls right now. There are 3 property cards on one property, which is for the police station, the town hall, and the library. And then there is a separate parcel for the caustic property. So there have been different plans talked about and doing things with the caustic property, and I was thinking this might be a good time to try and combine the 2 properties so that it would be one town campus rather than have a separate standalone parcel. Therefore, it would not involve anything with the park or town green or any other name, but just be an extension of the existing town campus. So I was going to see what the select board thought about that. And if there was support for it, it would probably involve trying to go for an A&R approval not required to merge the properties. I could not find a survey yet for the caustic property. I will still be digging a little more, but there would have to be a plan drawn up for the application for an A&R.
Would there be a cost associated with this?
There will probably be some type of a survey cost, whether we can talk to someone to get a decent price. We'll have to see what's there. And the survey would depend on how many markers are already in place and identified. The existing town campus with the 3 properties had been surveyed back in, I think, 1999 by Joyce Hastings, and all those markers are in place. So it's just the caustic property itself, and Joyce said there may already be some markers available, but we would look into it more if the select board thought this might be a good avenue to pursue.
Heidi, could you explain how adding the caustic property to the town campus property, in what way would that facilitate things that the town might want to do with that property? What are the legal and planning and practical implications of that?
I cannot speak to the legal because you have town council that would go into that, or I'm sure Paul would be able to speak more with that. There have been plans right now from the Historical District Commission looking into putting in signs and a walkway. There has been a local resident group that is looking into also developing the town campus further and improving the town campus. So this would be extending the town campus as a single entity.
Paul.
So I support this. And I think the answer to your question is that Massachusetts has a constitution that provides that land that is used for open space or recreation by a public agency cannot be used for any other purpose without a vote of the state legislature, 2/3 roll call vote. And according to statutes enacted by the general court, which is the state legislature, they won't approve a change from open space to something else without you're replicating it on a 2-to-1, used to be 2-to-1, I think it's 4-to-1 now, basis. So if you wanted to take, I think this is 4 acres, the caustic property.
Just about, yep.
So if you wanted to take the caustic property, make it into a park now, and then 20 years from now, you want to do something else with it, or 50 years, or 100 years, you would have to find like 16 acres elsewhere to swap it for the land that you're going to now modify. So the question is, how do you not have that constitutional provision attached? And the way you do that is you don't have a lot that is supposed to be essentially a park, public park. You combine it so that it is essentially the yard of the existing municipal campus. So it's part of the yard of the town building, which is closest to it, but also the yard of the police station, which is pretty close to it. If you combine it all together, and I believe when we acquired it, I insisted that it be for general municipal purposes. So it should be on the deed anyway, already that it's for general municipal purposes and not for open space purposes. So right now it's a free parcel that can go anywhere you want it to go. But if you wanted to make it parkland, or if you wanted to make it conservation land, something like that, that locks it up.
Right, I don't think the current proposal to say put a kiosk, or what do they call it there for
Gazebo,
meetings? Yeah,
gazebo.
this gazebo wouldn't officially change the classification of that land. It would still just be town-owned land to be used as we like.
I'm trying to say it could.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think by combining the lots, it gives the town a lot more flexibility in the future without having some restrictions and having to go back or go to the state legislature.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's basically the answer for my question.
John?
Also, on a more physical standpoint, with the town hall well, the town campus well is almost on the property line.
Yeah.
So the zone 1 and zone 2 protection of that well is on that property. And if any future expansion is going to be done on septic systems, or there's a failure of any of the septic systems, the library or the town hall, we need that space, and we would trip over that. I assume we'd probably trip over that. That's a different parcel when we would go to do that. So it's best that it become part of the campus. There's already infrastructure that if it's not over the line, it's basically at the line when the library's fire tank and the structure went over there. So I think generally assume that it's one parcel. I think it's probably best that it become part of the municipal parcel.
Is there a downside?
Engineering.
I'm just going to ask one quick
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
Right on top, he and I were on the same page, because they retained the well. They didn't seal the well. Caustic well is still, apparently it's a pretty productive well, because our town well was what, 1937 or something it was drilled? I forget when it was installed for the center
Pretty
school.
old. Yeah, there is still.
But their well, I know it was capped. I know the well was capped, and I think it could still be utilized on the caustic property, because I cut through the field to go to a house.
He would let us.
Yeah, but
There is one there.
yeah, which could be valuable.
Is there a downside to doing this other than the cost of a survey?
The downside was if you ever wanted to sell the parcel, it would no longer then be a separate parcel. This would now be combined into the town campus and wouldn't have a separate parcel ID, but you could always do an A&R again and separate off a piece of land, I would think.
I think that ship sailed.
So
I'm
we
just-
debated the idea of selling this property many times over the years. And even when we were buying it, there were some who were thinking, let's buy it and then sell it. Maybe we can make a profit. But the better view and the prevailing view of the board at the time was that we were making an investment in the future, and that we needed more space. We needed a municipal campus. We needed to be able to expand buildings. We needed to be able to have water, septic space, all those kinds of things. So there wasn't the votes there to sell this thing. And I don't think it would be a good idea to sell this thing now. So the downside, what you're calling a downside, it's more difficult to sell it. Because you have to go through more procedures, to me, isn't a downside at all. It is actually a benefit. Because one of the things that I hope is part of all of our legacy to the future residents of this town is that property be there for when it's needed. And we know that it's going to be needed. It's the question of when.
I would actually question whether we legally could sell it now that it's recognized that it's the zone one of that well. We need to keep control of the zone one of that well. It was grandfathered before, but now we don't.
Yeah, but with 4 acres, we could do an A&R. As Heidi had mentioned.
Right.
Well, we could, there's parts of it that we could peel off. You know, we've studied this to death. We've had so much thought put into this, both before we bought it and after. Don't think that we want to go down the road of selling anything at that point.
Well, do we take a vote on this?
Well, I guess I'm wondering if we should ask, now that we've tried to renew Petrini's contract, if we should maybe get Heather or someone to advise us. I mean, I don't respect I agree with what Paul said, but I wonder if we need a legal opinion or not. I don't know.
I would guess we probably don't need a legal opinion, but if we don't, I move that we approve the combining property. Form 1. If you want an interim vote.
I second it.
All right, there's a
I'm
motion.
not sure. I don't feel like I know enough to vote, to be honest with you. But you have, if you support it,
Well,
that's fine with me, but I don't know what I'm voting for.
I'm happy to try and look into what a survey is going to cost and get some quotes on that. I just wanted to find out if I should even look into or start investigating this. So I guess I was looking for some direction from the board.
Yeah, I would say you should certainly start investigating it, kind of figure out what the survey would cost and if there are any other sort of costs or hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
And
Or drawbacks.
or drawbacks, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was going to vote in favor of it. Now I'm like, I don't know.
I'm happy to come back when we have.
But I don't know. I don't think we know. What are we voting for? We don't even know what it.
We're voting to combine the two parcels.
I don't think we know that. I don't think we know that.
well, is this a question you think should be brought to town council?
I think so,
Okay.
but I'm not. I'm one of 4. Sometimes I'm one of 5, but tonight I'm one of 4.
I don't know. I guess I feel like I don't see the questionable legal issue that would make it worth spending, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not supposed to buy it, but I'm just wondering if there's a drawback to combining them legally. I don't know that. I just don't know the implications of what. I don't know what the options are and what the implications of the options are. That's maybe my ignorance.
Well, one option is to just keep them separate. That's the option that we're living in right now.
Yes.
And
Is it an appropriate request of town council to be like, are there any drawbacks to doing this, or is that too broad of a request?
Raise your question again.
Yeah, because I'm like, I know how lawyers are, and they're like, where's the legal question?
As I said earlier, they're very practical lawyers. I just want to, like Paul brought up issues I didn't know. I mean, I respected what you said, that we don't want to undo everything you did whenever that was 20 years ago.
Paul, do you see a legal pitfall here?
Just the one that she mentioned. There was this plan at one point to, move the fire station out of the downtown area, put it here.
Yeah.
That way it would provide an empty lot in the business area that a commercial business could move in there. And that would stimulate the downtown area and so on. It was a thought, people had, and a lot of debate, discussion about that. But if you if you wanted to do that, this would inhibit that. The problem with moving the fire station to this side of the tracks is that if a train's coming through, right now there's a station on the south side of the tracks and a station on the north side of the tracks, but if you move everything to the south side of the tracks, good luck to the person who's on the north side. They're gonna have to count on mutual aid and whatever. So we didn't go for the idea of converting that into more business space. I mean, these things we had a committee, there was a lot of work that went into this before, so, but if you want to revisit all the stuff, I mean.
Okay, I guess.
I don't know, revisit it, but I don't know what we're deciding on.
All right, I guess we should probably ask town council. There's a motion and a second on the table, so all in favor of Paul's motion?
What is Paul's motion?
It was it was.
So,
Mary made the
your
motion.
motion,
What's my motion?
that we proceed, that we proceed to combining the parcels.
That's right. That's my motion.
All right, so all in favor? All opposed?
Well, I almost feel like abstained or opposed.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily opposed. I don't feel I know enough.
Yeah, but if you abstain, then the motion's gonna carry because then it'll be 2-1.
Yeah, no, all right, then I'll say.
Okay, so Heidi, I think you should proceed with investigating what the survey would cost, and I guess Jeremy, can you contact Petrini and I don't know, maybe even just do like a heat check on him, just be like, is this even the
Yeah,
type of thing that you should look into? And if he's just like, I need something to go on,
Yeah.
then maybe we'll just support the town council request. But if he's like, oh yeah, no, there's plenty to sink my teeth into here, then just have Petrini or one of his associates look into it.
thank you.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
that took longer than I thought it would.
Let's okay, we're finally in agreement.
All right. Next, oh boy, everybody's favorite, operating and capital budget. We got our three heavy hitters here. Were you going to start with an overview, John?
What I think I'll give the overview afterwards, just
Okay.
so then you can get into discussion and not tie these folks up. And so I wanted to get to, the three big budgets before you, that generally fall under the select board. Budget of the chiefs and Tron here, go through their operating budgets. Hit the high points. You've got the full detail in your packets of their proposed operating budgets. Also the capital requests. So just wanted to take advantage of getting this before you, so you can ask questions if you wanted. And then I can get sort of an overview of where we sit. We've got a bigger picture on the budget. But Sean has had a long day and may have a long weekend, so I suppose we start with him.
Thank you. I'm gonna go up there or stay in.
It's up to you.
Wherever you want to go.
The Michael Burke picked me up if I'm still. So, you want to start with DPW? Pretty simple. With the operating budget. There wasn't any significant changes there. We held the guidance and, there was an increase on the fuel, but that's an increase on the budget. Based on, the actual gallon usages. Minus any unforeseen, huge winter storms. We have a very consistent fuel usage. I just adjusted that. Used the most recent fuel deliveries as the prices. We buy fuel. It's basically like a state bid, but the price changes every day off the commodities market. So it was best to just use the newest, and it's anyone's guess where that's going to be in 12, 14, 16 months. That's not my forte. But I can pretty much tell you where we're going to be for gallons. So we're requesting that at where we think it's going to be. Then there was a small change, the longevity didn't get budgeted last year. I'm not sure why we missed it, but that's contractually obligated. So we put that exactly where it should be. Other than that, there's really no changes in the DPW budget. Snow and ice, as you know, we just fix as what we had before, plus the COLA.
Yeah, most of the salary in this budget are part of the public works union. So that's obligated. But like plus the maintaining the current headcount and meeting the requirements of CBA. There's two other folks on who has a contract and obligations are in budget. And then I may so really where the salary numbers come from. Sean just went through the advice on the expense side of things. Your snow and ice budget, that just gets traditionally it just gets adjusted by the COLA for the labor for the overtime.
On longevity, I still see a 0 for fiscal 27.
Okay.
Oh, you must not have the updated.
I think it's in the numbers up above.
Oh, that's right. There was an updated one, wasn't there? Sorry. My bad.
You got to look at what Deb sent you guys 2 days ago.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot that there was an updated one.
Is that the only thing that's changing that? No,
From Deb's, the fuel that I was just referencing, and she highlighted both of those when she sent them to you.
so where do you sit overall?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, what's the percentage? Apartment total without snow and ice with the,
It depends where you ask for the overall.
For just
Including snow and ice, the total is 356. But the budget prior to snow and ice is 371.
So your budget looks good. This is going to be a recurring theme for this budget season. I'm assuming Jeremy has distributed to you guys the sort of budget memo and the situation that we're at right now, which is that we're 850,000 over the limit. And it's not because of any particular one person or department. I think when you look at the breakdown of what everybody's asks are, in sort of in aggregate, the schools, the government, and undistributed expenses, just everything is over. And so we need to get at least $850,000 out of this budget and or find other sources of revenue. I think we are going to probably dip into some stabilization funds and stuff, but even though you're basically at guidance, is there anything that you think you can cut out of this budget?
No, I mean, you could tell me to cut services.
Yeah.
Don't paint the lines this year.
Right.
But at what cost? I mean, there's nothing I can take out of here. I mean, in fact, if you look, if there's any lines that you might think, well, we could cut 5,000, I'm clearly gonna go over on the maintenance. If you look at what Deb distributed, we're at 64,000, 65,000 of a $75,000 budget for the maintenance of vehicles. So this current year, obviously those lines that may or may not have been able to be cut are going to fund a massive overage. And that's keeping everybody's fleet running out of my shop, mostly mine, but so there's really no cuts unless we seriously cut.
Yeah,
and if we make a 1 year cut, it's going to come back and hurt us the next year.
one thing that we kind of worked hard at doing was to incorporate things in the operating budget that were operating, things that are capital. And a couple of years ago, we moved in the stormwater items that were, operating out of capital. That's currently in the budget. Suppose you might be able to move back towards putting that on capital. I'm not sure that's a great idea.
No, I don't want to do that. You guys have anything?
No, I spent a lot of time making wreaths in the garage this December, and every time I had to go to the bathroom, I had to go through the maintenance stop, okay? And the police lieutenant's vehicle is still there, I suspect. So I could vouch for what the maintenance bay looks like.
Yeah, it is hard to produce these budgets. I think all three that you're here tonight without affecting some sort of level of service.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I could go into advisory mode right now and just start nickel and diming you, but I feel like I've got Jeremy here, and that's part of Jeremy's charge is to essentially
There's some big deadlines coming up for some budgets that will be revised.
Yeah.
How that rolls up may dictate whether that's being incurred next.
Yeah.
Yeah, February 2nd or February 3rd, the schools are coming in with a new version of their budget.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they were a big driver here because they were going up 15%.
I don't count on the schools coming down a lot.
This coming from the only person that has a kid at school still.
That's true. Is that a conflict of interest? Yeah, no, just knowing what I know about the school budgets and the reasons why it's up right now. I mean, I've been talking to Don, but we're not going to get $500,000 out of the schools. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, this is as it's presented now. You may need to revisit.
Yeah.
That's going to be the one.
Okay. When do you go in front of advisory?
Last night.
Oh, how'd that go?
Advisory's listening to all of
It was a long night.
They haven't taken their votes yet.
Oh.
They're listening to all the budgets. They've heard a number of them, including Sean's last night. So they've been fairly tight-lipped as far as their opinion.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. So you didn't go to midnight like you did with us?
They actually, no, they know better than that. I was the only one on the agenda, basically. Me and Steve Petty, Chucky Blaney, that was it. You guys used to stack me after like a couple of chiefs and Board of Health and a few others.
Town building?
Town
Yeah, what do
buildings.
you want to do, town buildings?
Yeah.
So this is going slightly backwards. The majority of town buildings is basically level funded. We shifted a few things. The big nut is the last line. We can either jump to that or we can end with that. Just to remind everyone that the town buildings budget basically handles all the utilities at the major facilities, town hall, police, library, DPW, 2 fire stations and police station. Handles the utilities and most of the general repairs, keeping the HVAC working, keeping the lights on, operating the water system that's here. So water testing, all the public water supply stuff that goes along with this campus is within this budget. There's no improvements that happen that are born from this budget. If we want to paint all of town hall, it's not coming from this budget. If we need to make major repairs, it's not coming from this budget unless we're going to ask for a reserve fund. And we've had that the past couple of years, you'll remember. We had sprinkler repairs we had to do here on the fire pumps. That was a big expense.
Sorry.
That had to be a reserve
Am
fund.
I dumb? Do I have the town buildings
I didn't see it.
budget?
I don't see it.
No way.
I can't.
Want a copy real quick?
No.
I'll keep talking.
Yeah, you just keep talking.
Most of the lines again are pretty level funded. As they were. what we added was to try to address that, because this year, as you know, we had the on-site insight capital plan put together. And we're typically not going to fund the entire plan, but we've talked for many years, Steve, when you were on advisory, Jeff, when you were on advisory, about the fact that not everything in there, a lot of things in there are not capital improvements.
Right.
They're just maintaining the buildings. They're not a capital project, they're just maintaining, and we're not doing those things because they're not in this budget. So in an effort to address that, I took basically the year one, actually all the, the future years even, of what should, what the on-site insight's saying we should be spending just to maintain these buildings. If it's 1.4 the first year and then it drops to, forget, if it's 1.2 or whatever. I basically took a $200,000 nut out of that and put it in here. At least to discuss where that should be. Right, because I can't come every year with a list of projects that include, painting the baseboards or, doing other things, or fixing the CO detection system that was beeping the whole time you were at the DPW garage.
Yeah, I know.
Every out. But that's, it's like a $12,000 or $15,000 repair. It's not a capital repair.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit the level of cost or age, but it's just a repair. It's part of doing business. It's part of maintaining these buildings. It should be borne in this budget or somewhere else. It's not bondable. It's not something that the bond company wants to see. And the auditors don't want to see that on a capital appropriation unless it's part of a huge project, which it's not. So this is kind of a discussion of where those things should be.
So
Steve, when you were chair, we talked about that.
Yeah.
We never got there. There's always a Prop 2.5 scare.
Yeah, and we're on it right now.
We're there again.
Yeah.
But we'll be there next year and the
So
year after too.
So that 200,000, basically that's pulled from the latest on-site insight report, and it's effectively like their year one, this is what you should do, and that's the 200,000.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if there's a $1.4 million, this is where you should be to fund it and keep funding it. It's basically saying, well, we'll ask for certain projects, and the things below that we should be funding, with this source.
Yeah.
So I did basically like a deduct, and
Yeah.
you could see that on the capital appropriation. I said, well, this number is assuming we're going to fund the operating budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's deferred maintenance. The guy was
Yeah.
talking about before, you
Yeah.
don't refurbish a chiller, then you're gonna buy a new chiller.
Yeah.
Year 15 instead of year 20.
So are there any things in this 200,000 line that could pass as small capital projects? What if we set capital at 10,000, 15,000?
Capitalized is actually 25.
Yeah,
25.
it used to be, it used to be 10.
It used to be 10. It was.
That has led to some confusion.
Yeah.
Because there's certainly things that are valued less than 25,000. That capital that have a long life that aren't easily fit into your operating budget.
Yeah.
Need to sit somewhere.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, one of the things that we want to do this year, at least, probably for the next couple of years, is to be more strategic with our free cash. A lot of things may not be bondable, but we've got plenty of free cash that we can use to buy small things.
And we've done that,
Yeah,
right? We've done a mix of,
yeah,
we put 450 and 200 of it was free cash.
right. Right, and then we have, how much do we have in the capital stabilization fund right now? We have,
It's close to, actually. It's close to 500,000.
right, so you could probably utilize some of that to pay off, but obviously if it's like painting a baseboard, and like that seems.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, right.
That might not have been great.
Yeah, yeah,
The gas detection system for 15,000 or whatever it is in
Yeah.
the garage is a decent example. And there's some stuff at both of the stations that.
yeah.
Which is an approach that may get you through a year, a couple of years.
And do you know?
Not entirely sustainable. So
Yeah,
if this gets reduced or changed from the budget, you'll need to continue talking about
Yeah.
how to maintain your buildings.
do you know if we do pull out a bunch of those sort of small cap items that put them in the capital improvement plan, pay for them from capital stabilization, is that going to raise eyebrows in the auditor's eyes, or are they like, no, no, that's appropriate?
I don't think that's gonna raise any eyebrows.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they would know.
Yeah,
And it's not something that would pop out.
yeah.
What's the mechanism to spend from the capital stabilization? It's
Still
still an article, right? We don't have
Capital appropriation, appropriating.
Yeah.
Two-thirds vote.
but we don't have that, so we need to.
No, it would be, yeah, it would be a capital request funding from.
Yeah, so I think it would still be in the capital improvement plan. I think the funding source would be capital stabilization. Is that right? Or would all capital stabilization items have to be its own article?
Unfortunately, you pull out capital stabilization would need to be vote.
Okay, yes, yeah. But it could still essentially
Within the capital.
still within the capital improvement article, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, to me, it's like, I don't think that we are assuming that the current economic climate is permanent, right? And so stabilization is there to deal with what we hope to be temporary situations. And we have almost like, what are we using that $500,000 for, if not for something like this, you know? So my suggestion would be go through that list that is informing your 200,000 and figure out how much of that can you pull out and essentially say, these are all things that we would ideally pay either with free cash or with capital stabilization, so that we aren't putting that into the tax levy this year. Because I think we're eyeing that 200,000 as one major chunk of the 850 that we need to cut. Because we're not cutting those things. Well, maybe you go through and you decide, all right, well, some of this stuff that's on Onsite Insights list doesn't really need to be done because there's nothing wrong with this thing right now, you know? And so maybe you make strategic decisions there, and then things that are like, yeah, no, we really should do this, but we could reasonably pay for this with capital stabilization, and therefore pull that out of the levy. I think that's obviously better than being like, well, we need to cut some services from the operating budget, right? So
You could actually take your suggestion a step further, though, is he could then maybe look differently at what projects he puts in. In other words, the 200,000, he might have made the decision based only on most urgent, but maybe if ones are more likely to be capital this year, maybe we could do one that's slightly less urgent this year if it's more capitalizable
Yeah.
or whatever, and then have the other one, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
The mix could be different too.
yeah, yeah. And I guess since it's on-site insight, you also know what year 2 looks like, right? So
Yeah.
so you could also look at year 2, year 3, and because we're going to be in this for the next 3 years at least, you know. So trying to strategize how to deal with this for the next 3 years, probably.
Yeah, and recognize that we fall behind on year 2, then 3, then 4, and it gets exponentially worse.
Yeah.
Because we never fully fund it like the
First
roads.
maintenance gets
Yeah,
deferred.
right, right.
And the numbers get pushed to another year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like part of the sort of medium-term view is also, I mean, we're working on getting the whole Coolidge projects going, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you look at the timeline on that, like, we're looking for permitting and everything to be done by the end of this year. Construction ideally to begin next year. So really, you know, probably 2028, we're looking at ideally a bunch of new growth coming online, right? And so that's, I mean, that's the only way that this town is going to be getting a relief on the levy limit is by actually adding some new growth.
That's pretty optimistic, but I gotta fix some stuff.
Yeah,
And I just don't have a mechanism. So it's good that we talk about how.
yeah,
Because again, I can only put so much on the capital plan.
Yeah.
You know, those need to be big nuts.
yeah,
And those are gonna, you know, half of those are gonna get wiped out. I already know they are.
yeah.
So somewhere that
Yeah.
the smaller projects gotta get
Yeah, This
fixed.
is a big change from this current year's budget, but you know, it's identified as a need. If it's removed from FY 27, it still needs to be on your radar.
Yeah.
How best to
Yeah,
fund it.
that's why I'm like, I don't think that we should just don't remove the stuff from being done. I think we just need to figure out what is actually the smartest strategy for funding it. And if some of the things could reasonably be deferred, then sure, as long as that's not putting us into a bind next year, the year after that. But if it all needs to get done, it needs to get done, and we just, you know, we have this. I mean, I don't think we want to deplete the capital stabilization fund, but I would be surprised if there's more than 100,000 left in that in 3 years. You know, I think we're just going to be eating away at it for a while.
Yeah.
Right, but it also, the fallback position is that we have an override.
Yeah.
And, you know, just,
Yeah, I mean, it still remains to be seen, you know, how it's gonna all roll up.
Yeah.
right,
I mean, part of the issue is that even if we do, let's say that there is an override this year, or even if we barely avoid it, it's going to be an override next year, right? That doesn't fix the problem the following year because you still can only go 2.5% over that new levy limit that you voted an override on,
sure.
which is going to be barely over $1 million. And it's just like $1 million increase. I mean, this, in the current economic, you know, inflation, like we've been going $2-3 million over each year for our budget. You know, there's just no way that 2.5% is going to be enough to even just maintain services, you know.
I mean, if it helps at all, which it doesn't, but the meetings I've been at lately with the surrounding towns, the Metro West Regional Collaborative, they're all dealing with this.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the 2.5%
Yeah.
is becoming the problem.
Yeah. And it's, if an override needs to happen, it needs to happen. I'll be shocked if there isn't an override at some point in these next 3 years, but that doesn't fix the problem of needing to run the budgets as lean as possible, trying to find alternate revenue sources, and ideally work to get that new growth online so that the cap is raised a little bit. You know, that's those are like the big picture items. Is like those are the big drivers, right? So there's, you guys have to do your part in trying to push down on your budgets as much as you can without cutting you know, necessary services. But you know, we just have to do what we can.
Including the school. The school is still 60%, 65% of the budget, okay? So
Yeah.
I think we need to keep that in mind too.
Yeah. This, and like I see Dawn in person every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I was on that trip with Dawn about 5 years ago for a long time.
Yeah.
I knew her daughter was a sophomore and everything else.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted, it kind of rolled into your conversation is capital. So we can touch on the building capital, Rosen.
Yeah,
It does relate.
we can do that or talk transfer state. We can talk trash real quick and then.
Oh, crash.
Then we can roll into cap because we'll segue right into capital from that. Transfer station is relatively flat. There's been an increase the past couple of years on what was called water testing here, which is the DEP permitting for the cap landfill, the operation. That includes, when we say water testing, that includes the surface water testing. And the price spike the past couple of years has been because DEP mandated that we start doing PFAS testing on the surface water. That's very expensive to do. It's difficult to do. It's well regulated. It was expensive, and then they changed the testing protocol, so the lab fees were even more. So that, you know, but that's mandated. And we're able to represent exactly what we think this coming year's cost is going to be. So that's the only real increase. As you know, there's a contract in place still for Wayne and Father to run the operation.
We have to have monitoring wells too.
Yeah, we have monitoring wells for the surface water, and they come out and they've always been testing and tracking the huge list of compounds. But DEP added PFAS to that testing.
So the monitoring wells.
Exactly, yeah, to those monitoring wells. When Jeremy was still in Natick, they started doing PFAS testing on theirs. And I actually expected that. We spoke about that a couple of years ago. I expected it the very next year because I knew about it because we used the same consultant. that does the testing at their landfill that does ours.
So what are the tests been showing?
It's there.
For PFAS? There's quite a bit of PFAS.
There's PFAS.
Plenty of it.
There's quite a bit.
So far.
Fortunately, we have a couple of down gradient wells.
But they're not requiring any action to be taken in this one. So, they're requiring all landfill testing. Yes. Which, a lot of wells around Natick's landfill, Sherborn's. Where that is coming from gets complicated. Which of the two landfills, general chemical upstream, but there's no specific remediation or requirement to do anything other than just continue on.
Well, since they are forever chemicals, where do they go?
It's a good question.
They
Fortunately, right now, they stay at the surface.
stay wherever that water is.
Last year, we tested at the residence, couple hundred feet down gradient and closest to Laurel Fields.
In their drinking water wells, and they were noted tanks. So it has not migrated, at least across the road, to those residents. So that's good. Maybe it's slowly moving, or maybe it's not moving, or maybe it's going the other direction.
Or is Natick?
Doug Bond.
Doug Pond, yeah. That would be luck. I mean,
Let it stay there. Right.
Maybe it is.
I mean, we do have water flow mitigation, across North Main from between where our landfill is and Sassman Trace Golf Course.
But I can project from other conversations that while they're not requiring anything now, they will eventually require something to be done with all this PFAS that's accumulating nationwide, rather than just leave it there and let it migrate into the groundwater. And it's particularly sensitive for us because we're all drinking groundwater.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to figure out where the PFAS could move. It moves quickly, but they've also found now that they also has the same plume characteristics that other contaminants have. So it's like a wave. It can be moving towards something.
Yeah, it's a huge liability. And would it be better to groundwater or treatment at the wells that might compromise?
Yeah, there's no way to treat the groundwater. And we don't know what level in the groundwater is at. I mean, it could be the overburden, it could be at 800 feet. We don't know where the crevices are. We don't know what the flow is.
He's saying it's just surface water or something.
They're testing the surface water, and the monitoring wells around the landfill, which are shallower than groundwater wells.
Right.
I mean, bedrock wells.
Yeah.
But the budget just reflects the testing costs currently and level service of your transfer station.
But we have no choice about the testing. It's mandated. So we're not going to cut that out.
Yeah.
All right.
But I like your idea of moving things towards being free cash, taking them out of the operating budget, at least this year. So the non-operating expenses, use free cash to fund some items. Or capital stabilization. I thought that was an excellent idea. Thank you, Steve.
All right,
Your high points for the capital project?
town building capital.
Yeah, well, since we're on transfer station, let's circle back.
Okay.
There's one item there, a single item. It was originally listed at 75,000, but we updated that. That was for the electrical upgrades. Jeff, you'll remember definitely if you came down and saw it.
I saw it
at the transfer station. A few years ago, we had a failure.
Oh yeah, I heard
It was
about that.
weather just like this, and there was a dead short in the underground feed for the compactor equipment, and it caught fire. The meter socket caught fire. We were on a generator at the transfer station for
I think I have a picture of
at least a month. It was a headache. At the time, the building inspector, electrical inspector, let us put everything back together to operate. with the assurance that we would get some money and do an upgrade. So that all of that infrastructure was done in 86 when the landfill got capped. It was basically one project, cap the landfill, build out the transfer station at the same time. So it's built to those standards. Nothing is up to code. So
Yeah.
project consists of, and we're in the process of hiring an engineer, basically redo the electrical infrastructure for that equipment, which is, required. Eversource is actually getting ready they've already dropped a new pole without calling me and telling me they're going to change the transformer out, which actually would have forced us to upgrade the service. At the same time, so that needs to happen. At the same time, we've been working on trying to get E.L. Harvey to commit to selling us the equipment. The compactors that are associated with the recycling, the paper, and the commingled, they're owned by E.L. Harvey. In the days when everybody was making money on recycling, they would just bring their equipment in, kind of lock us in, and we'd send our stuff to them, and they were making a bundle. When that turned on its head a few years ago, prior to COVID, they reassessed all the accounts and realized they were losing money, and they started charging us rent.
Mm-hmm.
So since then, we're spending about $6,600, almost $7,000 a year, renting equipment. So I was hoping they would sell it to us at the proper value. So I kind of baked it in. Last Friday, they finally got back to us. They did a site visit, and their response was, let us know when you're done with the equipment, we'll come grab it, but we're not selling it to you.
Mm.
So what I was hoping would be about 10,000 per unit is so there's a financial aspect to it. There's also our operational aspect. We can't, there's the compactors and then the containers, and they say E.L. Harvey on them. We can't exactly go to a different vendor. We're pretty much locked in, contract or not, we're locked in to sending our stuff to them. So it's time we put our own equipment in. We own, obviously, the compactors that do the trash. We need to purchase basically the same compactors, which is essentially what's there, and send back the rental units. And it's best to do this. We're going to rewire the whole place and bring everything up to code. So it's best to do it all at the same time. So I rolled that into the project. We updated that at $175,000.
Majority of that cost the electrical service. The compactors are what, 20,000 a piece?
Yeah, probably 20,000 a piece, and then we'll buy containers that are the same as. It's the same container that goes to Millbury with the trash. It fits on the roll off, and it's our hauler right now, whether they're going to E.L. Harvey or Millbury with the trash.
So the compactors and the containers are about $60,000. We spend $7,000. So the payback is fairly quick. It's definitely far shorter than the lifespan.
What is lifespan?
Those compactors, I mean, they'll last 20 years.
Yeah, especially on the recycling side.
Okay. There's moving parts, but it's electric motors and hydraulic hoses, such. They last a while. I mean, the existing compactors that you're renting, how old are
The
they?
E.L. Harvey ones, those are probably 15 or 20 years old.
Okay. So this project would be bonded probably?
I think we would propose this to be free cash.
Free cash, okay. Okay.
So I couldn't find a transfer station budget here.
I think some of them weren't in the packet.
What's in the packet?
Was not.
No, was not. I think he could find.
Yeah, we're missing town buildings, we're missing transfer station, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get you those spreadsheets. Sorry.
Okay, what else you got?
We split the buildings up, the facilities into two different halves. One was basically a design, and one was for the projects. And the theory there, you'll remember when he was doing the on-site insight report, he basically, on the out years, he basically said, well, I estimated the design, it's kind of covered in there. But that doesn't necessarily apply for projects that we need to kick off in the next year or two. Because the project's not funded yet, but I need to do the design work to get.
You don't know how to put a capital budget together because you don't know how much you're doing.
Exactly, right, we've been
We talked about having like a design year and then
exactly. So what we did, and I'll make sure you have the sheet, I recently updated it, but we highlighted 4 projects. Did I have that? Oh, so we highlighted 4 projects that are keyed up in the on-site inside report for next year to fund the design this year. So we're A, ready to go, B, can have some real engineers estimates before we get there. The first won't actually be, it'll be a 2-year design, which is at my facility. The salt shed we've been holding off for the better part of a decade to replace. And there's other infrastructure and storage needs there. So we're starting with basically a feasibility code study. Odds are we're going to have to add sprinklers to that building, but there's benefits. As the chief could go on probably for hours about the benefits. We need to do just a feasibility and then work into the design. The design will obviously cross into a different threshold on the procurement and everything else. So we need to kind of know where we're headed. One of the major projects in the either the second or third year is at the fire station. We need to redo the kitchen. We've been holding off on that because the HVAC needs to be replaced. So we need a consultant to work on that HVAC. So we're covering that. Same thing in this building. We have a project in this building for the exterior, but there's HVAC, both with the air handler and the chiller that's outside Jeremy's office that are way overdue. First thing we need there is a consultant, an HVAC consultant to work on that. So we fund that. And then this isn't the most popular project in the world, but the septic system at the library is the original 1971 septic system.
Yeah,
it was not replaced.
We worried about that.
Right. We had great concerns that we didn't really talk about publicly during the construction, but that system is old. It's designed to pre this version of Title V standards. It's functioning. We were worried it might fail when we basically started it back up, but it didn't. I did just recently have Scott Septic do a Title V inspection, but anyone that knows anything about septics, Title V inspections do not predict the failure.
Yeah.
They just tell you whether it's failing or not. So my due diligence.
Remember, they put a scope.
Yeah, we scoped to make sure they didn't dislodge the pipes, but that still doesn't tell you how healthy the system is.
Drainage and everything.
So, good due diligence is we should at least start working on the design if it needs to be replaced. Because if it fails tomorrow, it's more than a year that it would take to permit that system and get it built, and that's a problem. That it would be a major problem. So, at least for me, everyone's going to say you just did a 20-year building plan and you didn't accommodate for the
So this is essentially preventative planning for that.
At least a plan.
Yeah.
We do soil testing down where the system is now and find out what it's going to take to rebuild that system there. Again, we talked about this earlier. If we can't rebuild that system in the field, we need to talk about where that system goes, and it might be over there.
Because the building's got, more footprint and more load on it too than originally.
Yeah, and that wasn't really accommodated properly when it was done.
So then these first 3, the DPW, Fire Station 1, and Town Hall, these would theoretically then be construction projects for the following fiscal year?
Oh, no earlier than the fall. Yeah, I mean, the DPW would be several years out. That's a feasibility, which would then roll into possibly, and then another design ask.
Okay.
Possibly we would fund the fire station kitchen in year 2.
Yeah.
And the upgrades here.
Yeah.
This would,
design, get costs, then next year.
Right. And especially those two, the 2 HVAC, that helps inform us for some grants we may be able to get.
Okay.
Getting into that process helps us with either the green community grants or other grants that we might be able to get on efficiencies.
Okay.
But we can't just make those things up.
Grants have to be a shovel ready, that you can't go in there with a pie in the sky kind of, to get a grant, you have to have.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about how we're gonna upgrade the HVAC here, but.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just looking at, okay, there's 4 design projects. And so now I'm like, all right, well, is that then basically setting up a roadmap for actual construction projects in the next year?
Yes, it is.
So just,
And it's following a roadmap, the
Yeah.
onsite inside.
right.
The onsite inside report lays out
Okay.
all these.
Okay.
Now, yeah, this is a big ask.
Yeah.
If these had to be prioritized, Sean, what would we focus?
On the, are we still on the design or in the project?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, once you get.
No, once we get to
Yeah,
the
so the
design,
projects.
that's fine.
There's a have to have, and that's the roof on this building. So we called that the exterior renovation project, and then there's a handful of things. If you were to peel through all the pages of that report, which is hard to do, but there's a handful of things that made that exterior renovation. It was the roof, obviously, which includes chimney flashings and some gutter work. But there's also work. The brick facade to the windows is an issue because there's not just draft leaking in, but there's cracks there where either water can infiltrate into the walls and stay in the ceilings at times. But we've had bees nests in them, and that needs to be addressed. The entry doors. So we kind of just queued up a handful of projects that all coincide. The roof has to be done. We're probably going to see ice dams on this roof for the first time in its life because we insulated the attic and the snow stays on the roof. The snow's been on there for a week. That's how you build ice dams. We never had that. We do now. We may actually have to mitigate that. We have to do the roof this year, so that whether that project's 400, it is yet to be seen. If you look at the first group of projects, we're actually doing that design work now with funding we have. The leftover funding that we have from the prior capital asks, we're funding so that we can have the bid specs put together for the renovation project and put it out to bid.
When you're gonna have that, do you think?
We're working on the scope with the designer now.
It won't be bid before town meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's not gonna be a hard number at town meeting.
no.
Okay.
It'll get more refined.
Okay.
The architect does the work. But, there's not enough time to get it designed.
Okay.
But in general, you prioritize the shell of the buildings, roofs, and exterior to prevent further water damage.
Right. I mean, if I was to jump to another one, it would probably be the roof over at Station 2. We already had a contractor look at that and price it on a state bid number, whether that holds or not. But that roof is original. The building was built in 89. It's held up. That's probably the best investment we've ever made in a building. But yeah, it needs a roof. We had ice dam problems in it a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
It's a simple replacement, but it's got $1 million worth of equipment sitting in there. We will gain some efficiency with the insulation because they're basically going to have insulation on the roof and re-roof it.
And then that spoken fire panel replacement at the police station, how were you doing that?
That we've been putting that off. We can put that off at the risk of the thing
Fails,
reserve
fund transfer,
right.
expedite capital, something.
Those old Gamewell panels, we put them in a bunch of buildings back then, and then Gamewell kind of stopped supporting stuff. So we've had it. This building already got replaced because it was the same era. It's functioning. It's a little more critical than it used to be because it's an unmanned station, but it's working. It doesn't fall off the plan. It just pushes out a year.
Tell me about the locker room and bathroom renovation. That's a big number.
What's that?
Tell me about the locker room and bathroom renovation.
So the lockers, the chief could probably talk to that more, that they've been looking at that for quite a while. The lockers that were put in, I think were, fit the needs back in 98 or 99 when they designed the building. They're quite small. They don't have any electrical outlets in them because guys weren't walking around with 5 different things on their belts and chests that needed to be recharged. They do now. They have the body cameras. They have everything else. That they should be doing that in their lockers, and they obviously don't have them.
I would say
they need multiple lockers, I think, for each guy. Their boots are up on top of them.
looking large power strips, probably fire chief would like to see them, all around the building for each officer has at least 4 rechargeable items, that they're trying to recharge for body cameras, the radios, the flashlights, everything that they have. The doors, it's all of the doors and the mechanism, it's time to be replaced. There's no ventilation in them. They're in the basement. You go in that locker room, you're in that locker room. The newer lockers have food drawers with ventilation. They have electrical outlets in them to charge all the units that need to be charged. It's a sad entire room you go in. It's one of the few rooms in the building that the officers spend time in. They're in the old dispatch center, which is kind of our report writing room, and they're in the locker room, and then for the most part they're on the road. It doesn't create a great work environment when that's what they come and go from every day at work.
What we did is we combined that, obviously. If anyone that's been down there, it's basically one room. It's the locker room and the bathroom and shower stalls are right off it. It's almost basically a locker room and bath. So those fixtures are obviously, 26 years old. The plumbing fixtures in any of these buildings don't last that long anyway because of the harsh water. So it's best to do that whole room all at the same time.
Do we have a design on that already?
What's that?
Do we have a design on it already?
No. Well, he's got design from
the quote
locker guys.
There was changes in the pricing in the quote, so that's in the process of being updated.
Okay. So how accurate do we think the 200,000 numbers?
We think it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it really comes down to a lot of what the plumbing numbers are and how the new lockers fit because of the flooring, and it's the old lockers are raised up like on concrete, so there'll be some demo work. I'm gonna have to go into that.
Okay.
So these items were clearly capital. That $200,000 you saw in the operating budget are not these items.
Yeah.
They're other items.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Most of my towns are moving to have security cameras outside of town buildings. Do we have security cameras?
Yeah, we have pretty good coverage on the entire campus.
Great, thank
There
you.
was a capital request last year.
Yeah, I feel like
Even allows some of the car crashes in the roadways here. If we have someone that
Great.
damages the roundabout, we can catch some of it.
Great, well, I don't
on
want to put
campus.
too much on the record for
Right.
that, but
We don't have anything interior to town hall, but the exterior is well covered.
good. Thank you.
You good with?
I think so. I mean,
It's again, I think how this all fits together.
yeah, it's always the problem of, oh, can we push this one out? Well, what does next year look like? You probably already know what next year looks like, right? And it's probably similar. Yes, right. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, is there any point to saying, oh, let's push the smoke and fire panel replacement out? It's like that just makes next year $50,000 worse, or probably more because it's probably going to cost more next year. So it doesn't seem like any of these things are entirely optional, right?
Well, yeah, they won't go away.
Yeah,
We keep pushing. We're not pushing this roof.
yeah,
One way or another, this roof's getting done.
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, it's just the whole thing of having the 5-year capital plan. It's like you only push things if it's like next year doesn't look as bad, so why don't we push it to next year? So it's like I don't know what next year looks like right now. I'm assuming you guys have looked at it and.
Yeah, I mean, for the town buildings, the proposal or the study that was done by Inside does have a fair amount in the first year.
Yeah.
So it's not like a level spend over the 20 years or 20. It's not a level spend I mean, they did some, oh, you got the presentation. Yeah, there was some spikes in it, but there's,
Yeah,
some potential for smoothing.
yeah. But plus, it's like a lot of these smaller items, I'm imagining we're not going to borrow for them, right? So it's not like it's adding to our debt service anyways.
Correct.
So, uh,
Sometimes the projects are also like, if you're gonna go in and do a project, you might do other things that maybe don't necessarily need to be replaced, but you already have
yeah,
the attic torn off and the roof off, so you do things that maybe have some useful life, but you don't wanna go tear the walls apart or do that kind of thing again. Like a lot of room type of thing.
Finite resource.
Yeah.
Have so much free cash or stabilization.
yeah,
No dedicated revenue to your stabilization.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
is
I mean, it all was free cash at some
it's
point,
a limited
basically.
supply.
Yeah.
Of funds. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's why it's good to have a 5-year capital plan and you plan it out. And I don't know, to me, it doesn't feel like fussing around with capital actually helps our year-to-year budget situation, right? Because it's like, if it's all stuff that has to get done anyways, and it's like, well, a lot of it's going to be debt service probably, right? And you're stretching that out over 10, 20, 30 years. And otherwise it's free cash stabilization, which all of our stabilization money came from free cash anyways. So like I said, it's a limited resource there. So I don't know. To me, pushing around capital, unless we're determining that certain things actually just don't need to actually happen, it's like you're not really helping yourself that much, unless you're doing it just to smooth out the capital spends over the course of 3, 4, 5 years,
Right now, most people would argue you're hurting yourself by pushing it.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna bump it right into the Pine Hill, whatever happens at Pine Hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we save, like the roof insulation, we save on energy costs,
Yeah.
so there also are operating cost savings of new equipment is,
So I've got some overview to talk about capital, but later.
Sure.
Want to take advantage of.
Okay. Wait, are there
A couple DPW.
Yeah.
There's roadway, which shouldn't be any surprise.
Yeah.
We have a list, which is, a little bit more for everyone else with the estimates, because I always bring the actual specific project, which is not what I'm doing tonight, to you guys. But it represents about $2.5 million worth of work that, is kind of pretty much a backlog. My high priority roads that are about to fall off the cliff or may have. And, best case, we're going to see if we fund it, we're going to see 1.1, 1.2 to spend. If the state funds at the same level, which I have less confidence than Jeremy does that they will, that we won't know.
What did we get last year from the state?
515.
Right.
550.
And that was a pretty good windfall for us. Remember,
90 was by 50%, and then there's the fair share amendment, which will vary from year to year. That's the surcharge on high income. Last year, that fair share amendment, 150,000. It's gonna be around that. But we should get similar funding. The Chapter 90 portion is that's stable.
Yeah. So that'll be around 550.
Around 550, maybe a little.
Okay.
that's what we brought. Our historic Chapter 90 was 263.
Yeah.
So we just doubled what we
Yep.
normally get. The past couple of years, we did 1.5 times prior to that. Because it was different. It wasn't fair share. It was something else the year before.
Yeah, sometimes there's budget surplus.
Right.
Or
So then what are you requesting for roadway from capital?
450, which is a little higher than last year. It's closer to that target number that the pavement management study suggests. So
There is.
John does identify a number of streets that are in need. And overall level of funding is getting closer to the we're suggesting number.
Yeah. And we looked at that, I remember last year in a select board meeting, right? And Did we give you any kind of guidance of like, yes, go for this level?
Well, I asked, and it was significantly low. It went from 550 to 350 really quick.
Yeah.
But again, that's regrettable because
450.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 450 plus the 550. It's getting close to the 1.2 that they were suggesting.
Okay. All right. What else for DPW?
there's a 1-ton truck, which is basically a twin to the one we received, this past year. That was a holdover. We requested several years ago, but it got hung up in the COVID. Ford didn't want to build any trucks for anyone. So it took we got a little off cycle because I would have actually probably asked for this last year. I needed to, but asking for a truck when I haven't received one that we borrowed money for was a little difficult.
It's a nice truck. That's why I walk by that a lot too.
And so this will be basically its sister. They share, they're called swap loaders or hook loaders. The bodies of dumpsters and dump trucks and sanders, you just take it off, you leave it on the ground, you put a different one on. So they're multi-use trucks, and they share the same equipment. So one can be a sander and one's set up for the chipper. While this is being built next year, I'm probably going to ask for another sander. So 2 of the 3 can run a sander and do winter operations. They all plow. But we tend, especially in a storm like this weekend, we often need to be out there with the chipper, be ready with the chipper. And it's not an increase to the fleet. There's a truck. I would have brought pictures, but the truck is showing as
it was scheduled in your capital plan. We would suggest this be free cash funded as well.
And the truck that it's replacing, is it worth anything?
Is it what?
Is it worth anything?
It's some value.
Worth anything?
Yeah.
It's got a negative value right now. We're going to get it back up and running. When we auction it, we might get enough to buy it.
Okay.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
We kind of made a commitment to the voters that we would, when we're buying vehicles, ask the question about whether or not you can do this with a electric vehicle, basically.
That would be impossible. In fact, the manufacturers are shying away from that. Ford is not building medium duties that are available for municipalities. Never been snow operations with them. We have moved back to gas with that version of vehicle rather than diesel. The emissions are better, the efficiency is better, the maintenance is significantly cheaper.
The only pickup close to this would be a Ford Lightning. Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, which Ford killed.
They don't make anymore.
And shut that line down.
Ford F-150. This is probably a 450 or 550.
It's a 600. So there's nothing on the market right now that's available.
If they're complicated. When there is, we'll end it.
Okay, we're just doing our duty. Had the town meeting vote that resolution. We said we'd ask the question.
But these are big vehicles with power equipment on every corner of the vehicle. It's not like driving your Tesla down the side of the road.
Or if Sean, can we do Farm Pond capital?
Sure.
And Jeannie is also on Zoom.
Is Jeannie on? Because she's away.
She's been waiting all this time.
Wait.
I hope she's not.
She's not on, but she just texted.
I hope
I may
not.
have to pick my daughter up.
She's in Vegas.
She's
Headed.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's hope she's
I'll wait to
not.
see if there's a rental park.
Was she looking for you?
No. I'll move on.
So you'll remember we funded with ARPA funds the design for the path that goes up and over the hill. You all know it well.
Yeah.
At Farm Pond. That path creates a major problem for the beach and the water quality. Because it basically just shoots the water right at the beach, launches the sand, 100 feet into the water. So we hired Stantec to design that and permit it through DEP and Concom. The design was done 6 or 8 months ago, went to Concom, we had some meetings, went to DEP, there was some comments that came back from DEP. We did some redesign of the stormwater structures, which is a key component to that. That has now been done, resubmitted. So it's, it's probably at the 95%. I think it'll be approved by DEP and Concom, so it's ready basically for construction. So we have, I assume you guys have it, an engineer's estimate from Stantec of the probable costs. If and when we put it up to
I think
bid.
we do.
200K.
There it is.
So of all the projects currently proposed for FY 27, this has the best chance of receiving grant funding. We put in a letter of interest, receive MVP funding. That's got municipal vulnerability preparedness funding. And we think it has a good shot. So our letter of interest is in, the application's open in the coming week. Week of February, we got an application. We wouldn't know if we received a grant until April timeframe. But knowing that this is a good candidate for grant funding, this may be something that you want to keep on your plan, and maybe revisit for town funding next year. But if we were optimistic, if we received a grant this spring, then we move forward with the project. If we don't receive a grant, we bring it back to town meeting for funding next year. It's the one that has the best chance of funding.
Yeah. Would the grant potentially fully fund it?
Yeah.
And if that one doesn't go through, that's not the last grant we could go out
on the grants that we go after.
Base watershed
It's a great project.
Yeah.
But given that, you'll see the entirety shortly. I'll give you something.
Yeah.
Entirety of the capital.
Sure.
I mean, this might be one where we could take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Other funding.
Yeah. No, I'm all for that. All right. Is that it?
I think I'm done.
All right.
There's no money left for you guys.
Just don't.
Might as well go home.
Yeah. I mean, you guys can enter the octagon and just see if it emerges.
Let's spend some more money this weekend.
Yeah, don't ask me where we are in snow and ice right now.
The chief's gonna let me go if you don't mind, because my pager went off really early this morning and I'm kind of hitting the wall here, so.
I actually have to apologize. I have to fix my daughter. He's got it. You got three very
Luckily,
accomplished people here, so I apologize for having to leave. So I got
That's all right.
Go to the men's room for.
Go do that. Leave when you.
Is gonna swap.
She had to change. She's coming in for the weekend and change her flights because of all the snow. So she just got her rental for a little bit of 5 minutes ago. So I gotta meet her at the hotel.
Ready when you guys are, I don't know.
I'll do my homework.
Let's wait for Paul to come back.
Okay, whatever you want.
We'll fix the carbon monoxide over there.
What's that?
You have carbon monoxide, that's sir. Yeah.
While you're waiting for, we're gonna meet tomorrow, maybe do it by phone.
Whatever you
They're
want.
just, they just know, they notify us they're gonna cancel all the academy stuff Monday, so they're trying to double up on people.
Yeah.
So I was gonna go back and be a role player to get our recruits through as many scenarios tomorrow as possible. Get them ready to graduate next week.
She.
Yeah.
I think it was
Oh, yeah.
she transferred from the hospital to that facility.
Oh, that's good.
Role players.
And so
Hit me with it.
Ready?
Yeah,
All right.
not ready, but
No, I know, I'm not either. Gonna start with the fire budget. Gonna start with the salary side of it. So obviously we have a large increase in the firefighter wages. I think the board may recall that I think might have been the first time since I've been the chief, the fire budget went over budget last fiscal year, and we needed a year-end transfer. And the number one reason was firefighter wages. And the number one reason that we need more firefighter wages is the call volume. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a steady increase in the call volume, not only the number of calls, but the types of calls. So for instance, we have a signal called a full recall or a struck box in our lingo at the fire department. And in 2025, we had 84 of those scenarios. And those are the bigger calls that require more people. And we haven't had a policy change as to what constitutes those or not. We're just kind of responding to what's happening. Unfortunately, we're still averaging at least one multiple alarm fire every year, and other working fires, and those incidents, because the number of people that need to go and the amount of time that they spend. A 2-alarm fire is about a $3,500 call for us, just something like that, depending on certain characteristics of it. So, the increase that we requested for this year is still less than what we spent last year. We track calls on a calendar year basis. We don't track them on a fiscal year basis. So sometimes we do have busier fiscal years. And that certainly happened last year. We had some in FY25, we had some unusual mutual aid. We got activated to the North Shore. Basically, the North Shore was burning with brush fires and everything. We had to go 5 times in 12 days through the mutual aid plan.
So this increase in calls includes mutual aid calls?
It includes mutual aid calls. Our mutual aid calls are still steady in terms of our overall call volume. In some categories, they're actually less than they were percentage-wise 5 or 6 years ago. We used to do a lot of station coverage. We used to do a lot of medicals. We've done less of those, but we're still, doing some mutual aid. We've been really fortunate, though. Like a few weeks ago, we had an incident where I think 13 towns came to our aid. We had one of our firefighters unfortunately passed away over the summer. We had 14 towns cover us over the course of, they were split into shifts over the course of 3 days. So they basically it's mutual, and we go to them and they come to us. And it's a really good thing.
Is call volume up overall in general?
Yes. Yeah, I think every department has seen increases. Some of them because of a lot of new construction. We haven't really seen that. One thing that I've noticed in the last couple of years is we're going to more house calls during the day, because I think there's more people in Sherborn working from home than there ever have been in the past, which is sort of interesting. I think the daytime population, from just my experience, I think the daytime population of the town is a little bit bigger than it used to be because of that,
So is there a trend in terms of which categories are driving the increased call volume, and like that, for example, but
Yeah.
are there reasons for the increased call volume, and is it anything that is controllable in any way?
Yeah, not really. Unfortunately, I wish we could turn it off, right? The fire calls are really what's driving this. We've seen a steady increase in fire calls. We're one of the few towns that we actually do more fire calls than we do medical calls, which is pretty rare. We're usually about 50-50. And we have been, for years, but the fire calls continue to increase, and we pay people per call instead of having a career department where they're on shifts. We pay people per call that they respond to, and it's a lot cheaper than the other model, but unfortunately there is cost when we have those events. So that's something that we've certainly run into.
Is there any trend to sort of what the fire calls are in terms of like the underlying causes of the fires? You know, are they more electrical fires? Are they more kitchen fires? It's like, is there any sense of?
There's no sense of that. As far as fire causes, we have had some electrical stuff. We've had some lithium ion stuff. You know, we've had some intentional causes, unfortunately, over the last couple of years. Nothing this year, but you know, there's nothing concrete. Well, a few years ago, we had a number of candle fires over the course of like a year and a half.
Power goes out. When we lose power.
Yeah.
A lot, chimney fires, candle fires.
Yeah, a lot of carbon monoxide calls when the power goes out. The storm that we had in December, we actually had somebody with carbon monoxide poisoning in town from a generator. Weird statistic about carbon monoxide alarms. Since July 1st, 80% of carbon monoxide alarms that we respond to have carbon monoxide.
They're not
which is a high number. And one of them, on your neck of the woods, there were 8 people in your neighborhood and they had carbon monoxide in their system.
Well, like, what was the source?
It was a wood stove. There was an issue. They had a fan system in their wood stove that wasn't functioning properly. And that's that's certainly eye-opening. The carbon monoxide runs.
Yeah, I guess, this is getting away from the budget.
I know, I'm sorry. I just, so I can talk about the fire department all night.
I'm just, to me, it's just weird because a lot of budgets are going up because economically everything just costs more, right?
Yeah.
It's like increased number of calls. I'm like, that shouldn't have anything to do with the economy. And I don't think the population has gone up,
No.
So I'm like, just trying to get a handle on like what's driving that up.
Yeah, and the thing is,
be addressed by education.
Yeah, and we do a lot of that, it's just sort of, we're just kind of responding to what's happening, unfortunately. I don't think it's going to continue to go up the way it has. I think we've had a couple busy years, and I hope it steadies out, seriously. So, because for the call firefighters, especially during the day, and it's a lot for them to keep coming back in on the busy days when we do 5 or 6. They're leaving their families, they're leaving their other jobs or whatever else they're doing sometimes, so that can be a lot. That's certainly been a factor. If you want to talk about expenses, we'll talk about expenses. So the biggest expense increase is vehicle maintenance. And that's based on both FY25 and our current FY26 spend. So we looked at other towns' vehicle maintenance budgets with similar fleet sizes. Because of the water situation, we do have a little bit of a bigger fleet for a small town. And a lot of towns, it varies, but they have $40,000 or up to 50, even when they use a town mechanic. Because the fire apparatus that we have, a lot of them, they all have specialized components that have to be repaired at outside vendors. Even some of the truck components, normal truck components, some of them are too big for the DPW mechanic to fix, so they have to go out, which can be challenging. So we increased it to 28,000 from 23. We've spent right about 28,000 so far this year, according to my records. So
there's likely a reserve fund transfer coming.
Okay.
Yeah, coming for a piece of equipment.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that if you don't mind for the capital, because there is a capital request also in there. Some good news that is hot off the press today. One of our smaller increases, it is small. The 5,800 equipment. We requested to bring it from 10.5 to 12,000. We're going to bring that back down to 10.5. The reason we increased it, and we actually originally increased it more until we learned of the town's budget woes, if you will. We had a grant program that we used every year from the state that was going away because of it was on a 5-year bond bill at the State House. And we learned yesterday that the grant program is coming back, that we use every year for equipment. So we're going to bring that request back down to where it is. So we just wanted to increase it a little bit because we knew that that money was going to go away, and we rely on the money every year. So
What's in the protective clothing line? You know, it went up to 18.5 this year, but it doesn't look like that had been the spend in any of the previous 3 years.
yeah, good question. So we increased it. I believe it was 14,500 to 18,500. We're one of the few towns in the region that doesn't provide the firefighters with brush gear for brush fires. We actually just had people fitted for this brush season on Tuesday night for our first sets of brush gear. So the protective clothes for structural gear, and we added the $4,000 a year to start buying brush gear for forest and brush fires. It's a different type of gear. It's lightweight. You know, it's not a great thing to be trudging through the woods with full fire gear on. You know, it puts a lot of stress on the firefighters. It can ruin the gear, and that's why we did that. So we do project to spend those funds. We also applied for a grant for some forestry gear. We're going to need some matching funds for that, and that'll come out of that one.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, it's the same question as for Sean. Is that is there anything that you can squeeze in this budget?
It's really hard. There's nothing that comes to mind. I think if you look at our 3-year averages, I think they're in line with the requests, unfortunately. You know, we really have tried to sharpen the pencil. You know, vehicle maintenance is one that it's kind of unpredictable in a lot of ways. It sort of depends on what breaks and need to repair. You know, when I spoke with Jeremy, Deb, and Diane, I did say, you know, if you really want us to, you know, I'm willing to shave that back a couple thousand, but keep in mind, we still might spend more than that, you know, but I do expect us to spend 28,000. You know, occasionally we have a year when less stuff is in need of repair. But you know, it's really tough to do. So.
You gotta have equipment that works. When there's an emergency, you got.
Yeah.
Doesn't do any good if you have a flat tire and the engine won't start, or whatever. It's gotta be there.
Yeah.
And the firefighter wages, as you say, they're on call, so
Yeah.
it goes up when the calls go up.
Yeah. You know, a very small amount of that I failed to mention is due to training. So they get paid, the training gets paid out of that too.
Yeah.
It's the increase due to that is $2,000 or $3,000. You know, our firefighters, they were just in Farm Pond an hour ago doing ice rescue stuff. So they have minimums that they have to go for training. You know, really lucky with the group that we have. A lot of them are over the minimum required, so they come to more training, which is good for the town. It's good for them. It's good for morale. You know, and basically, it's one of those things where we spend based on what happens, if you will. So, you know, but no.
So, Jeremy, you're comfortable with this budget for now, at least?
For now,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, just like talk with Sean.
Yeah.
Squeeze where we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be surprised if you do need to shave this back a little bit.
Sure.
I mean, it's not huge. It's what, $44,000, but
yeah,
we're $850,000 in the
I'm under total. And again, it's not things that we want to do. It's sort of reacting to kind of what's already happening. You know.
I mean, similar to the public work budget, this is level service.
Yeah.
Yeah. No additional level of things proposed here. It's maintaining the existing.
Yeah.
And it's reactionary.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just really tough. Probably the 3 most important departments for public safety are those that we're questioning to see if we can save money on.
Yeah.
And public safety isn't really where I want to save money.
I'm going to question every budget.
I understand, but we're questioning public safety now.
Excuse me, sorry.
That's really not from a policy point of view is not where I'm looking to see how we can make significant cuts there. I'd rather have our people safe, whether it's fire or police or DPW. It's just too fundamental to quality of life in the town.
It is fundamental. I mean, if you want my opinion, which is outside of the scope of this meeting, is that, we need these services. People want these services. They don't want to pay for them though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And
Right, I don't want my policy to be to ask the voters of this town to approve a budget override every single year for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
no, that's right. But people have to realize that, there might be other ways to even out the tax burden. People. More help for people who have trouble meeting their tax burden, but this is way beyond.
Yeah,
I mean, one thing you did hear the chief say that, he doesn't anticipate that right now proposing a 7% increase. He doesn't foresee that.
Yeah.
Going forward.
We'll get some, like there was a conversation about Coolidge Street earlier.
Yeah.
We'll get some calls out of that. Do I think it'll be a big budget driver?
Yeah.
There's some of that stuff going. It depends on how many times the fire alarm rings there, and that building is what's going to determine how much that line goes up. I don't see it happening too often.
Yeah.
It's going to cost us as well.
Yeah, but it's also going to bring in,
right. I mean, theoretically, right. I'm not worried about added service for new construction because that they should be paying for themselves and ideally and more.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about right now before that stuff comes online.
Yeah.
Because obviously 7% every year, like even with an override, we're still stuck at 2.5%.
Yeah.
We can't do 7% every year.
No, absolutely. No, I totally agree. I will say that the other thing that I think we just did a little over 900 calls. We had a storm though that was sort of an asterisk. You know what I mean? It was a 1-day event. There is a cost to that obviously, but it's not it's not a normal budget issue, if you will. We did, what I'll call 800 of our typical calls. You know what I mean? Well, we did 741 the year before. So it's a substantial enough increase. Most of them are on the fire side. But and I just want the board to know we have actually in the last couple of years changed some policies in order to reduce responses. Like we used to send one of our smaller fire trucks to every, we go to some wire down calls. We used to send the squad truck to every one of those. Now we just send the duty officer unless there's a fire. We used to send more trucks to fire alarm calls than we do now. Things like that. So we have tried to be efficient while maintaining public safety. Maintaining the service.
Continue doing that.
Yeah, there's not a lot else, there's not much else we can do, unfortunately. But
Yeah, I think that's the message.
yeah.
Is there operation changes that
Yeah.
affect public safety?
Yeah.
Chiefs do every day, but maybe.
Yeah. It's certainly a balance, So for that.
Okay, good.
Ready? Yep. Next tab for me. So I have the spreadsheet with it's EMT compensation, EMS captain, lieutenant, and then it goes into the expenses. I just want to make sure. There's a couple different spreadsheets that we sometimes look at for the ambulance. But this one is the one that sort of tells the whole story.
Sorry, wait, which?
It's the line item budget, so it says EMT compensation, EMS captain. There are other ones with less information, but
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
so obviously the large increase there is the EMT compensation. So there's a $30,000 increase there. The COLA on that line is about 14 and change is 14 and change for that line item. I think the board may recall last year we talked about EMT compensation and where it was with the market and that. So the EMTs just got a raise in January. we broke out the rate. So we went for basically a few dollars. We were requesting last year like a few dollars an hour, and we were asked to break it out. So we did a raise last July 1st, and then we did a raise January 1st. So it would be like a half year hit on the budget instead of everything up front. What we did propose, just because we asked for more than that at the time, we were asked to spread it out, is another small raise January 1st of 75 cents an hour, which is about a $7,000 increase to the budget there. But because we just did one January 1st, and I'm sorry if I'm confusing you, we have to make up for that, the second half of that in the budget. Because that was for a half year starting just this month. So
I was going to say what January is. You got me confused.
I know. I totally. I'm sorry. I'm very tired. I
Talking about 26
now. 26. They just got in our last budget request. They just got another 75 cent an hour raise. But because that's a half year, we have to budget the other half of that next year. And then we did give them the COLA, and then we asked for another 75 cents next January 1st.
Yeah. And we had already previously approved that, right?
Yeah.
And what's the, sort of going rate and what you're currently paying?
So we're currently, as of January 1st, 2310, the averages for other ambulance services that use part-time staff, because that's what we're not looking at full-time fire departments, are $27, $28 an hour. And you got to think they're also going to go up this fiscal year, so we're below. We're not looking to get there. We're just looking to be at
current rate now and what's proposed.
So we're at 2310 now. With this budget increase, next year would be at 2460. I certainly understand the budget woes, and I did think, it'd be the right thing to do to bring it forward to discuss at least, because we did talk about it last year and we broke it out. But if it's something that, we want to discuss more, I'm certainly willing,
No, I mean, to me, I'm like, it's sort of in keeping with Paul's point about public safety. That I think for EMTs, like if the market is set in a range, we need to be in that range.
Yeah.
And we are probably in the lowish end of that range.
Yeah.
But it's like we need to stay in the range. So,
Sure.
Especially for EMT, like anytime I hear about how much EMTs are paid, I'm just like, that's criminally low for what.
Seriously, it really is.
So, it's just,
it is
it's practically minimum wage in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
$24 an hour is like, you can't. That's not.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's people that I work with who make significantly more than that and live in subsidized housing in Boston.
Yeah.
So it's like,
seriously. Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, no, that's an understandable increase, and it is what it is. I don't think we can knock that one down.
Sure. And I'm sorry for the confusing description. I could have done a little better with that.
Sorry.
The expenses on the ambulance, the large increase is paramedic expense. So when we have an ambulance call in which we need paramedics from another community, we call them. If they transport with us, we pay them a fee.
I see.
It's called an intercept fee. So we have the town broken into districts to ensure that the residents get faster ALS service. So what happens is our ambulance gets there. If we're on this side of town, call Framingham first. If we're on the south side of town, we call Millis first. They charge us a fee if we transport. That's what this line is, and we've increased it based on what we're experiencing with those calls.
Yeah.
We've also seen an increase in revenue.
And I feel like I ask you this every year, but
You do.
I
I know what's coming.
Yeah. Does it make any fiscal sense for the town to upgrade to ALS?
Fiscal sense, it does not. Because we're billing right now at an ALS rate because we're using the intercepts, So if we have an ALS call, we're billing at that level, and then we're just giving them a fee. It's more challenging on certain calls, based on how insurance companies pay, to to make money on those, but, you know, that's, it doesn't make sense fiscally. I think someday, you know, we're gonna have to do it service wise. I'm not saying soon.
Yeah.
But, I'll tell you, the availability of ambulances can be a problem. We had a school bus accident on Coolidge Street. February of this year, I think, Chief. You know, on the way there, I called for 3 mutual aid ambulances, you know, from any of the surrounding towns. And, you know, I think there's 15 ambulances in our surrounding towns and 1 was available. You know, and that's just one example, you know what I mean? But we have others.
Well, that's always the consideration, right? Is that if we are ALS, then is there a potential revenue stream because surrounding towns would then be calling on our ambulance,
Yeah,
right? And so to me, that's the calculus, right?
exactly.
Is there enough, you know, need there in the surrounding towns where, okay, if we can serve that need as well as our own internal need and not having to call for
Medics from
Yeah.
other towns. Yeah,
right. So that's the calculus.
that's the X factor.
At some point I'm
It is.
like, is it going to break
Yeah.
into actually this might be a net positive, even if it's a slight positive.
Yeah, I think it would be a slight positive. You know, I think it would help make up for the cost of providing the service. You know, the one thing to, you know, sort of keep in mind is, you know, right now we have 1 ambulance, you know, so we do mutual aid ambulance calls now. We would do a lot more if we were ALS. You know, the one, you know, and I think it's a good idea at some point. The one thing that worries me is if the ambulance is out of town a lot, how many Sherborn calls do we miss? You know, because it happens, you know, the ambulance does some mutual aid now. They're not drastic numbers, but we do miss very occasionally a Sherborn call because we're on mutual aid. But if they call for it and it's available, we have to send it by law. You know, so there is a larger conversation. We analyze that every single year at the fire department.
So that it's not left dangling there for our voters. When our ambulance isn't available because it's in use, you don't leave somebody on the side of the road. You get mutual aid from another community.
We do.
We take care of everybody, make sure
Absolutely.
it's taken care of.
100%.
Just wanted to make sure
Absolutely.
I don't get a phone call.
Never.
It's the mutual and the mutual.
Yeah.
When, helping other communities, they help us.
Yeah. I will say the second medicals for us, like what Paul's talking about, have increased substantially. A week ago, we had twice in the same day, we had double medical. So double medical is when our ambulance is on a run and we get a second run. That also contributes to the fire compensation because we send a fire truck to that medical with EMTs on it, but it's a fire call.
I see.
And we wait for a mutual aid ambulance to come, but we still provide aid to those people while we're waiting. You know, we have seen an increase in that. You know, we have an ambulance on order. Part of the discussion, I think, as you may recall at the advisory hearing, is whether we keep the current one as a backup for those instances, because we do lose revenue on those calls too. And, you know, we're one of the very last remaining towns in the region to have 1 ambulance. And so when the first one's out for service or maintenance, God forbid it gets into an accident, we have to beg, borrow, or steal in other towns, you know, so that's a conversation for next year, but I just wanted to sort of prime you a little bit on that. But that's something we'll have to look at cost versus, you know, if the truck that we have now is a backup and it does, you know, 5% of the call volume that it does now, would be reliable, you know what I mean? Whatever, you know, we'll look at all that at the time.
All right. So then tell us about the revolving fund and the revenue from the fees. Yeah.
Yeah. So last year we had our best year to date. The ambulance brought in 198 and change, which was a substantial increase, partially due to insurance payouts. You know, so certain medicals, if people have private insurance, you know, we can make more. This year we're tracking a little bit below that, but it's still a good number based on what we've budgeted. You know, we for years over budgeted that. You know, and luckily with Jeremy's help and Deb's help, we've sort of, I think, accurately budgeted for the ambulance.
But that's for a 4-month period. the 66,000 is for a 4-month period, so if you multiply it times 3, because 4
Is that-
months is 1/3 of a year.
So I think we have the numbers for the last 2 months and they're higher. I don't have them in front of me on this spreadsheet, the way it's like similar to yours, but it's something we look at a lot. And I think we're definitely doing better than that.
And is there anything that you can do to increase the revenues? Because I know that there's a certain amount of like chasing down the fees, right? And sometimes you choose not to because of the situation or whatever. But so
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So there's two things. Number one, we every year look at ambulance rates, and we look to see what we're charging compared to other communities. We were very high for years. We're starting to become closer to the average, and I'm planning to come before the board in March or April for a rate increase.
Good.
So that should help a little bit. The other thing, we talk to our billing company a lot. It's not something I want to do, but I do want to discuss it briefly. Is some towns use collection agencies. I'm very torn on that personally. That's rough. Sending somebody to collections for an ambulance bill. And I asked them, what would we make if we did that? And their estimate was between $5,000 and $10,000 a year. For me, for a small community, I don't think that's good business personally, but I serve at the pleasure of the board. It's something we could look at if people want. But,
what percentage of the fees are going unpaid?
So we collect about 86% to 88%. It changes on collectible revenue. Some people sometimes they have a bad address. Sometimes people are deceased. There's a number of things that can happen. Any bill that's not paid, they get 6 notices from their billing company.
Okay.
So,
Right. I would suggest no change to what you're doing.
Yeah,
I agree.
I would not want to go to the collection route, and I appreciate you for saying that. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So.
There's enough problems with somebody who needs an ambulance health-wise.
Exactly.
And for the town of Sherborn to be chasing them for a few dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so that's the story with the ambulance.
Great.
Capital. Yeah. So we have 4 items. They kind of all happen to fall. I know the board discussed earlier what's capital and what's not. So they're all below the $25,000 threshold. So I think they're, Jeremy, what's the term? They're non-recurring substantial expenditures, right? So, the first thing, sorry, Paul.
That just means free cash.
Yes, exactly. No, it's just their title for what the number.
Fancy.
It's a fancy way to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we have on here is an engine 3 repair. So engine 3 is something we should discuss quickly. Engine 3's a 2004 Pierce Dash tanker. It's 22 years old. One of the more important vehicles in the fleet. It's got 2,500 gallons of water. Kind of important for the town of Sherborn for many obvious reasons. Engine 3's had some frame issues, corrosion issues, and it was to the point where we brought it to a couple of shops and they told us to replace it. We looked at that and we took that information. Personally, Sean's helped with this too, but have had more than 20 different conversations with people about engine 3, fire chiefs, mechanics, shops, and everything. We found a shop on the North Shore that is reputable by a number of fire chiefs up there that would repair engine 3's corroded frame. And that's what we're looking to do with this. We also...
That's a great price, by the way, $24,600.
It's a lot better than 1.3 million
right
for a new one. Yeah. So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking, But
I thought, aren't you supposed to replace apparatus after 25 years?
That's NFPA. That's not for engine 3. I think we can get 30 years out of engine 3. That's the NFPA standard. Some towns do follow that, typically larger communities. Engines are actually 15 years on NFPA, I believe. and reserve apparatus is 25.
Huh.
If so, it's NFPA is it's a consensus standard, something that we look at every day with a lot of our operations down there to try to follow industry best practices.
Yeah.
But it is common for towns to have some apparatus that go past that.
Okay. There aren't ramifications on the insurance rating?
There are not for that particular reason. Engine 3s, it's used a lot, but it's not an everyday vehicle. Engine 4, on the other hand, is it goes out every single day for something. Engine 3 goes out closer to once a week for certain types of calls.
Okay.
But it's still very important to the fleet, obviously.
I just don't want to spend $24,000 now only to be like in 2 years, be like, actually, we just need to replace the whole thing.
Yeah, it's on the capital plan for 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Because it takes 3 to 4 years to get a new one once we order it.
Is this a major function to carry water?
It is, but it's also a fire attack piece. So it has the ability to serve as a regular fire engine. So if it's what we call first due to it,
Backup.
it's a backup engine also. But primarily for us, it's a water tanker. Obviously, very important. And I think in 2 weeks at your next meeting, we're going to be coming back also for a reserve fund transfer for engine 3 for a pump repair. We considered putting it on the warrant in this category. The pump has a leak that's also based on corrosion. It needs to be repaired, I think, before town meeting.
How much?
27,000. So I know it's a lot of money. Based on the mechanics we've talked to, anything can happen with the truck, but
if we can get 6 years.
Yeah. Are you pretty confident that we're really going to get that much out? That sounds like a truck that's falling apart.
No, it's just old. And, to be honest with you, some of the corrosion problems, with the wash bay that's there now and the staff that, the EMTs and the full-time lieutenant that we have there now, they wash the trucks very often. And I think the rest of our fleet will do better with corrosion. I think that's part of it. I really don't want to come before the town meeting for 1.3 million for engine 3 this year, and I don't think you guys want that either, but
yeah, I just want to make sure that you're not coming back. And well, I suppose you will be coming back shortly for the 1.3 million, except that I guess it would be appropriated, but that would get encumbered until the truck was actually built, right?
Yeah.
We need the appropriation for. Yeah, we need to buy it. So
the other consideration is even if we were replacing engine 3 at this town meeting, we'd have to fix it.
Yeah.
Because the new one,
the amount of time it would take to get the new one.
We'd still have to fix it.
Okay.
But great questions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So the next request is for some fire hose and nozzles. We won't get into the specifics of everything, but basically we need to buy some hose for a number of reasons and some nozzles. We've lost a lot of hose due to testing. We've lost hose at actual fires for a number of reasons. And our inventory is coming low. In this request, we also planned ahead a year or two for what we plan to lose, if you will, over the next 2 years in testing, which we thought made sense to sort of to buy more now to hopefully save some money by buying more at the same time. Any questions on that?
Is repair ever an option on hose?
Usually not for this hose. This is 1 3/4, which is what our firefighters drag into a building to put a fire out. The 5-inch supply lines that we have, repair is an option for those. Can be an option for those. This stuff, there's a lot of liability with this hose based on fires that have happened in the Commonwealth and other instances. And the other thing that this does for us is certain brands of hose, have different pressures and everything. And so we have like a standard, if you will, with what we have. So all the trucks are somewhat the same, and this keeps with that. Which is important for our people. So, but that's
so they're interchangeable between vehicles.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So we have some spare, like if a truck goes to a fire and they use an 1 3/4 line, stuff from the rack goes on, and then this stuff gets dried for the next use, because when you go to pull it off the truck, if it's soaking wet, for the next fire, it doesn't come off the right way. So stuff like that. Any questions on that? The next one is
Self-contained breathing apparatus.
self-contained breathing apparatus. Yeah, yeah. Scuba without the U. So we need one additional SCBA unit to add for our inventory. We have 29 air packs. Every riding position in every truck per NFPA is to have an air pack. That's a standard we do follow because there's certainly liability tied to that one. Most of our air packs were funded via a grant. I think 80% of them 5 years ago. The town picked up the rest. But through our operations, we've determined that to keep enough of these units in service, we need to add another one. We need to add another one because there's usually always at least one out for repair, whether it's something that happens at a training or a call. And we also have people pretty regularly in the academy. The academy's 4 or 5 months long, the part-time fire academy, and they have to take air packs with our air packs with them. So just to keep the inventory sort of status quo on the trucks, we realized the need to purchase another unit.
But this one might be grant funded.
We're going to apply for a grant, depending on it's all timing. So we're waiting on FEMA to come out with AFG, the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. We'll apply for it. 4 out of the last 5 years, we've been successful. Only 7% of departments in the country are successful each year. So we've been lucky. Hopefully the luck continues. And that's our goal, to replace that. Also some SCBA bottles. There are some SCBA bottles that the grant will not replace, but it would be like 3 or 4 of them based on how the numbers work and what's eligible for the grant. So that is our plan, is to go for some grant funding.
Okay.
Thermal imaging cameras. We're looking to buy a total of 13 thermal imaging cameras. One of our main thermal imaging cameras, which is on engine 4, needs to be replaced. And then we're looking to buy 12 what we call smaller situational awareness imagers for our firefighters. So the industry is sort of going to every firefighter now instead of one per group. Basically, every firefighter now has some sort of thermal imager. So we had a couple options. We could buy 40 of them and put them in everybody's individual SCBA mask. Be a lot more expensive, or we can buy 12 of them and put them at the riding positions at some of the seats in our fleet that would use them the most, if you will. So the seats that the firefighters sit in to respond to the incidents.
Sounds like two different functionalities on a vehicle or on a person. The vehicle's never going to be in a situation in a building.
Yeah.
The person isn't. It doesn't sound like they're interchangeable.
Basically, what happens is the camera is so our firefighters get into a seat. When they sit in a seat, they put their air pack on. The camera's going to be on the air pack.
Oh. Well,
yeah, I should have explained that. Okay. So
that makes sense.
Big safety item. A lot of times, we're short staffed. You could have 4 firefighters. It just happened to us on a mutual aid fire in November. 4 firefighters going down, or 4 of our firefighters going down a hallway. They have 1 camera. 2 go to the right and 2 go to the left. The left people don't have a camera. Really important for them to be able to find a window, a door, a way out, a victim, a whole host of other things.
So you don't want firefighters wandering around buildings without being blind.
Exactly.
So
makes sense.
That's going to lead to
a bigger problem.
Pleasant result.
Yeah, bigger problem. So that's our goal. Again, we looked at, do we buy 40 of them for $1,500 a piece, or do we buy 12 of them for a little over $1,000 a piece? And that we went with the cheaper option.
What's the useful life of them?
12 to 15 years.
12 to 15 years.
Yeah. And we're going with a model that, luckily, based on the experience of our mutual aid partners, not a lot of maintenance. They've had very well luck. I've actually used one of these cameras in an actual building fire in another town. It's a really serious building fire. And I think they'll certainly be great for our members to use and enhance their safety for.
And would the 40 smaller ones have a similar useful life?
Usually less, and they come with a lot of maintenance problems.
Okay.
Severe maintenance problems. There's a lot of kinks, if you will, with those that haven't been worked out, the cameras that go into the mask, and it's something we've looked at, but we feel like this is a much more viable option for people.
And you've been very successful in the past getting grants for this sort of thing, so
Yes,
I know you'll try again.
we always try. It depends on what grants are available when, and we'll certainly look at that like we do everything. Yeah, so that's the story.
Okay.
Yeah, just one more thing to add. So you talked about the future replacement engine.
Yes.
The other big piece that's on the capital plan, which is 2 years after that, FY32.
Yep.
Engine 4.
Yes. So if we replace engine 4 if it goes to town meeting in FY32, is it FY32? It's a 3-year order. So we have a new engine 4 in 2035 or 2036. The current engine 4 is a 2011. So it would be 25 years.
So here's the thing about those NEPA standards, about 25 years and so on. In Boston, my office is near a fire department, and those trucks are hardly ever at the station.
Yeah,
They are always out.
Yep.
But when I drive by the Sherborn Police Fire Department, the trucks are often there.
Yeah, exactly.
More times than not, they're there.
Yeah.
So 25 years of a truck in Boston,
it's not the same.
compared to 25 years of a truck in Sherborn, entirely different.
100%. Yeah. They replace their trucks after 10 years. This one, we're going to 25. Engine 4 is the one I talked about. It does go out on average more than once a day. So that's our frontline piece. It's the first fire truck to every car accident, every fire, building fire, car fire in the town, and a lot of the other calls. So we do think that that's a realistic ask.
Similar prices, 3.
It'll be a little less. Yeah. It might be the same because it's a couple of years later, but if you were to buy the 2 today, it'd be a couple $100,000 less. So, but we haven't bought a fire truck in, I think, 7 years, excuse me. We do want to spread these things out, but those 2 trucks, because of the way the fleet is situated now, will hit close to each other. So, fortunately. So, but thank you.
Okay.
So, appreciate
Thank
it.
you. All right, Tom.
What's that?
Yeah,
Steve asked me about it.
Oh, yeah.
Steve asked me about electric
I was
fire
waiting.
trucks.
I know. I saw the article and I sent it straight to Zach. I was like, we should get one of these.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, we'll wait for Cambridge to get one and test it out in the Northeast, and then we'll, so, thank you.
Someday.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else that wants to go before me here? No problem at all. I actually had a fun day today, so this is okay. I was at the police academy all day doing as a role player for our new recruits. So I had to
Which role did you play?
so actually we did 2 of us, one of our other officers was there. We did a scenario, an excessive force scenario, with it's training the officers on duty to intervene. So we took turns beating each other with a foam baton, and they had to come in, separate us, and then kind of teaching them the process and making sure they understood the process of how they had to report that and go through there. So it was a good scenario, and we got to play it up a little bit, so it was good. But for us this year, it's a pretty straightforward on our budget. Again, level service. When we look at salaries, we're governed by 3 employment contracts. So it's my contract, lieutenant's contract, and union contract. So for FY 27, that'd be the final year of my contract. The second year of Lieutenant Ted Stone's contract, and the second year of the union contract. So we're we'll be in good shape there. So I want to thank actually Deb too. We reviewed this before, and we did some fine tuning already to remove some things, because what we look at in salaries and everything that's contract related, obviously they're contractual obligations. But we have had some things budgeted in there that are kind of, if everyone takes advantage of it within the contract, and we have some things that aren't. So we were able to make some reductions in terms of the health insurance opt-out, where that hasn't been utilized as much as it had been in the past. But also where we had to have some other increases and, based on our averages and the OIC stipend. We had a reduction in holiday pay based on how it's been paid out, because that depends on whether you work on certain holidays or not. Officers have been, I guess, better at utilizing some leave time on holidays, so they don't get some of the bonus pay for actually working the holidays. And a slight reduction in overtime pay, and I hope that's gonna stick. We are current year, we've already spent out about 60% of our overtime, but we have 2 officers in the academy who are graduating next week, and as they roll out on the street, that'll lead to a reduction in overtime. Unfortunately, as they roll it onto the street, we're going to be losing another officer in about a month to a federal position. But it's just kind of what it is. We actually had some other reductions in there. There were 2 stipends that were removed, as that was a change in the lieutenant's contract. And then the only other thing with is that you really see an increase is about a 7.8% increase in service training. So that covers all of our mandatory training for the year that officers are required to do based on the Municipal Police Training Council and now the Post Commission. But it also includes some other training we do and some professional development. As you can see, the 3-year average was down, but when you look at the actuals in FY24 and FY25, we were really getting close to what we had budgeted. And that hasn't necessarily allowed us, because we didn't increase that as the pay rates increased, has had some reduction in some professional development, especially in some of our leadership development for our supervisory staff. So there's a slight increase there in order to allow them to attend some other classes. So that leads to about just over 4% increase in total salaries, and based upon the union contract, it's slightly above what the increases are in the contract, but that also equates for step raises and things like that also fill in. And a couple of increases under our expense lines, and both of those are actually directly related to grants that are coming to an end. So we've been very fortunate over the past several years to get some significant grants. So we have under our admin info systems, but there's about a $3,500 increase, and that's for a service that we utilize that had been paid for through our insurer, through Maya. And that's actually an app that the officers utilize, and it's on all of our laptops, it's on all our department cell phones, and it's great. It actually has all of the Mass General laws loaded, all of our bylaws loaded. It has 3 different attorneys' interpretations of case law loaded, and it allows an immediate search on the street for officers to be able to get answers in terms of how to handle situations, how case law applies, but also then quickly get our bylaws, and then we're able to do some other customized things on it. So it's something we'd like to continue to keep using. It's been a valuable tool as we see kind of continue to move on. And then the other is we had a consulting group that's been helping us with our accreditation, which we've been successful with. That had been paid for through our accreditation grant over the last few years, and that grant is now coming to an end. There is potential that we might be able to get an extension for that if there's some money left in it. We have a couple of projects that are coming to an end on that, and there could be some funds left. So that is something, and I know, Steve, as you would ask, that we could possibly reduce if we're able to extend that grant again. Because then as we go into next FY28, our plan is to be fully accredited at that point. We would no longer need those full consulting services. So that would be a reduction. They have a maintenance plan that we could go on to, or as our staff is better trained, be able to handle that on our own, and that would be a reduction after that. And that was the only 2 changes in our expenses, total of about $9,000 increase. That leaves us at a total increase of about 4.2% over the entire budget. Unfortunately, and I know there's probably some things, it would be minor reductions if we really had to sharpen the pencil, and we're looking at reducing office supplies and reducing little things. We could make some significant cuts in non-mandatory training. It doesn't add up to a lot, but again, that reduces our professional development and creates some more issues. Really, if we were to make any significant cuts, it would have to come at staffing. And I think you've lived through it, that as our staffing increases, our overtime increases. There's a direct trade-off and a correlation to that. So it's a decision that has to be made.
Yeah.
And one thing we find, and you've also experienced this, is that we're a department that's always in flux. And what we see and the trends, not only here, it's regionally and nationally, is that's what it is. Officers are working in places 3 to 5 years and they're moving on. They're moving on for a variety of reasons. It's not necessarily all financial. They're taking less money for more days off, and they're doing it. It's hard to read, and when I look at our neighboring departments, we're all always hiring, and kind of we're robbing from each other to get experienced people, or we're taking new people on that are then moving on. I guess one positive for us is we see an increase in our longevity line. It takes officers a while to start to earn longevity under the union contract, so we are getting some of our people that are staying. So that's an important thing.
How many years does longevity kick in?
The first line kicks in at 7.
Okay.
It gets 7, and then it increases after that.
Yeah. Do you notice any trends in which types of people tend to stick around?
Really, it's hit or miss. It varies. When I look at the last couple of left, so we have an officer that's going to be leaving to go to a federal agency. He's going to be going to Arizona. He vacations in Arizona. He loves to be out there. It's going to allow him to do some investigative counter-terror things, some things he's interested in. That's something we can't.
Right.
But in terms of other things, we actually have had a couple of people that have left over the last couple of years that have left policing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to say that it's any one thing. We've had some go to city environments, some go to similar sized communities.
It's a tough environment for police officers.
It is. We work in a great community, which makes us, I think we're very fortunate with the people we work with every day. And I think the people that have stuck around and kind of get through that first 5-year period realize that, and they understand that, that's kind of a big thing for us. People get to kind of like that 30th birthday. People tend to, be more settled down in their life and getting married and having children. And once they hit that point, we see very little movement.
Yeah.
So a lot. It's really their personal life really dictates it.
Yeah. No, your budget's a challenge, right? Because it's so big, but the vast majority of it is set by contract salaries. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And we've talked a little bit about upcoming apartment building and what that could mean.
Yeah.
That's obviously going to be increase in call for service for us.
Yeah.
But I think where we are at our staffing level, it's not going to require any additional staffing. It will create some challenges. But I think it's also creating some call volume like that is going to be good for people. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the schedule right now in terms of like on each shift, how many patrol officers are there and how many?
So as we're running right now, we're a little bit day heavy because the obviously the lieutenant and I are on the day shift. If we were at full staff, our detective would work a 5 and 2 schedule. He's been on the rotating 4 and 2 schedule. So most day shifts, there's the lieutenant and I, then 2 patrolmen and a sergeant. And then the regular staffing on each shift is 2 patrolmen and a sergeant. When we get up to full staff on that eve shift, because that tends to be the busiest shift, we could have days with this 3 and 2. But then we'll run at minimum staff of just 2 officers. So that if we're at full staff, that eliminates a lot of time. People will go down to minimums. We had been doing during some peak times of the year, some optional shifts to get back to that 2 and 1 on Friday and Saturday nights, just because they tend to be busier.
Yeah.
But we haven't been doing that. Excuse me, of late.
Yeah. And how many open positions are there right now?
So right now there's 0.
Yeah, I see. So it's just those 2 in the academy.
Yeah, those two in the academy. So they'll graduate next Thursday.
Okay.
They'll go through a field training program. They'll be on their own. We will go down 1, and then my thought with that position is that we won't be taking any action to fill that position until we hit next fiscal year.
Okay. And I feel like I should know this, but how many officers are there? And how
So
many sergeants?
full strength, when including me, is 17.
Including you?
Yeah, yeah, and then
So there's you, the lieutenant, and there's
4 sergeants.
4 sergeants. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds like you guys have already done your homework and done some pencil sharpening and
Yeah, I mean, we could make some minor
Yeah.
changes if needed.
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
if we need to do something more significant, that's a conversation we have to have.
So, I mean, to some degree, I'm relying on Jeremy to put the squeeze on you guys. I think there's a couple more levels of squeezing that are possible, but hopefully we can avoid that. But just be prepared. Yeah.
But again, the people of the town want to be safe.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's nice about Sherborn is that it's generally considered safe. We want to keep that. You don't want to make cuts that in any way jeopardize that.
Yeah.
Capital? Straightforward. So one capital item, it's the replacement of one of our police cruisers.
Can you do an EV vehicle?
So yes, but, and I will explain that. So I'm not prepared to add another patrol EV until we've had more time with the one we have in the fleet. So as you know, last year we added a full electric, so about 6 months ago, with this year's budget, a full EV that's actually in patrol.
Mhm.
It's working out very well, but I'd like to give it a little bit more time. And then the reason I decided to go in the route, which would be replacing a Chevy Tahoe with the Chevy Tahoe, is the information I provided initially. It's just over $80,000 for the vehicle with a full outfit. I've been working with our upfitter because there aren't a lot of major changes in the body and the vehicle. We're going to be able to reuse a lot of our lights. So I already sent information back to advisory, reducing this to $75,000, and I'm going to try to continue to reduce it even more. We're going to have to get the car to them to look at some specific things to see if things can be reused. But the only major thing that we're probably going to have to replace is because some changes in the interior is the actually center console. But a lot, if not all of the lights will be able to reuse. Whereas if we did go with an EV, because of the change in size of the vehicles, a lot of those major components would have to be replaced, and we'd be back up over that $81,000 for a full EV.
I mean, theoretically, could you even replace the Tahoe with the Blazer, or is the vehicle size do you need all of the extra space in the Tahoe?
You know, that's one of the things that we're kind of trying to figure out with what we have. One thing that has been nice about the Blazer size is, even though it's physically a smaller footprint, interior wise, in terms of the officer's comfort, and really for me, the officer's comfort is more important than being able to stack every single piece of equipment. Because we're never going to be able to put everything we could need. We're kind of, we're never going to have that space. We're not as big as a fire truck. But the passenger compartment, Lieutenant Tedstone can fit in. He's 6'5". So to have that in a smaller footprint vehicle is kind of nice. So that's what we're working on. That's what we're testing. We've been able to put the storage box and the major emergency equipment that we need. We can put less traffic cones or things like that in the back. But in the end, that's not a deal breaker. So I think as we continue to move forward, and conversations I have with Amelia also with sustainability, because one thing that we're going to need to do, I don't foresee our fleet going entirely electric in the near future, but continuing to move in that direction is some charging infrastructure at our building. I don't think we would need to the extent of the fast charger we have out front, but maybe level 1 or level 2, so that when the vehicles are down and not in use, they're slow charging. And I think that's something that hopefully over the next few years we can accomplish something along those lines, and that would allow us to continue the electrification.
How many hours a day is the Blazer out on patrol?
So once these two are out of the academy, because as part of the test, I initially assigned, because we were short-staffed, just one officer, and it was kind of strategic. I will describe it as we used our most seasoned officer. My thought being, if the newest technology works there, it's going to work for everybody, and it's been very, very successful. Steve Lockwood Air drives it primarily, so right now it's 8 hours a day. If it were in a normal use schedule, it would be 16 hours a day. But he's found a way, even with 8 hours a day, he's not charging it every day. He can get probably 2 full shifts out of it. But he's periodically charging it as he has a little bit of downtime, or if he's coming in, he is our liaison to the COA. So he's going to come in here and meet upstairs with the COA. He'll hook it up to the charger while he's here, get him 25 or 30 minutes, and then it does wonders for the mileage.
Yeah, but even a level 2 charger, if they can charge it for 8 hours a day, you're
Be fine. Yeah, and we could even do some level ones. I just, just something that it's not running extension cords across the
Yep.
parking lot.
Yeah. And I would imagine you haven't had it for long enough, but have you noticed any difference in maintenance?
So I can actually speak to that more with the Mach-E that I drive.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot that.
We're over 2 years with that, and we spent $275 on maintenance. So that's been a huge thing. We're coming up on a 40,000 mile check on that. They had mentioned we've done all the maintenance on that at the dealership just because of the nature of the vehicle.
Yep.
They had mentioned brakes. Talked to Henry at Highway, Sean's mechanic, and he is very confident he'd be able to do brakes because it's a similar braking
Similar
system.
brake, yeah.
But I'm not convinced and necessarily trust the dealer that it needs brakes. I mean, we're seeing and all the forums I read about them, 75 to 100,000 miles before they, need brakes, and this only has 40,000, and they were recommending a brake change at 30,000. The way I primarily drive it is what's it called, one pedal mode.
Yeah.
So with one pedal mode, that uses the motors to regen power, so it's not even using the brakes all the time. So, so we'll see. It's got a checkup coming in next month, and then we'll have a better idea on that. But it's been a drastic reduction in maintenance.
Yes. If you had to guess over the course of that same 2 years, what would the maintenance costs on just a standard gas vehicle have been? With your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, with my schedule,
Yeah.
I mean, so you're probably looking at every, you're looking at least that a year just with oil changes plus anything else that it might need. So it's probably at least half the cost. Yeah. So.
All right.
And again, we haven't. The tires may be slightly more expensive. We haven't had to replace tires yet. Slants.
Yeah. And when is the next fleet replacement after this Tahoe?
So it would be two. If we're kind of in a 2-in-1 cycle, so it would be 2 vehicles the following year, and part of that would be we would actually be replacing our hybrid pickup truck. That would go the way it kind of is going to hopefully work in the future. When we replaced with this EV, the Tahoe went to Highway. Highway had that gray silver pickup truck. I don't know if you remember it. It was kind of a combination of gray silver and rust and rot, and that died on Sean. So that Tahoe replaced that for him, and kind of if we always maintain a pickup truck, that then every 5 years we could trickle that down to Highway, not need to buy a new pickup truck. It goes from running 16 hours a day to running a couple hours a day. He can manage that for 5+ more years.
Yeah.
So we would replace that and one of our other vehicles. And then we would most likely be able to do at least one of those as an EV, and depending on pickup trucks, if there's any hybrids available.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Nothing crazy. Well, excellent. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your patience.
Good budget.
Hopefully we survive this storm. It's I don't believe I'm wishing for it to stay cold, but then the snow will be light and fluffy. So thank you.
But if it's rain, there's no snow at all.
Very true. But then that will ruin my vacation in a couple weeks. All right. Thank you.
Do we have to cover anything else tonight? Can we adjourn? We can go on. This has been a long day.
Yeah. It's been a long day, but what are we, 2 weeks from now?
The only thing you got the warrant, the warrant closed today.
Yeah.
Let me just go through that quickly.
We don't have to do anything official.
There's no action to be taken, but there's no citizens petitions.
Oh, great.
So it's fairly routine.
How many articles are
there? There is
Mostly budget.
20. Yeah. So we can do the detail of that here.
All right, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, what about the budget, the budget over?
There's some information in your packet, but I just want to show you just two things. So, in some of this, not much has changed for the overall, but just wanted to show you this. So, to avoid an override,
I saw this. Yeah, this in the packet.
yeah, this is in the packet. So I'll just briefly explain it just so you can see what. Okay. To avoid an override, you could increase your budget about $1.8 million, which is 2.5% plus new growth, plus is a modest local receipt increase, and then using up all of your excess levy capacity. That's where you get the 1.8 million. If you attributed that increase based on the historic share of, who gets what piece of the pie, the schools get about 57%, town departments 26, undistributed 17. So if you apply that increase to those percentages, you can see, what the budget increases would need to be for each of those if they got that share of the increase. Just below it is what the current draft budget is for the increases. So, that analysis shows the schools could go up about $1 million if the town departments went up 480, and if the distributed went up 314. Currently, the schools are at 1.5 million in an increase. Town departments 670, and undistributed 530. So, just another way to look at how who could get what share of the increased budget, and this sort of analysis might get more important for you now that you're at the levy limit and you'll have a more constrained year budget increase. You'll have to think about who gets what portion of it and how that works. And this is not the end all be all by any means, because it really doesn't get into smaller departments that don't have as much to share. And maybe there's a big pinch on the school side one year and not town side the other year. So this is just a tool to think about how to go about budgeting.
So I know some towns have their town manager send a memo that says, this is what you have to work with this coming year to the budget makers in those categories. And kind of lay it down as, we're not going to go to town meeting with any budget other than this. And it's amazing to me that is almost always complied with.
So that could be, built into the advisory guidance based on how the town structure here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. I just feel like for the next several years, we're going to enter in a situation where every year we're asking the voters to choose between an override or a cut in services. There's no way around it, really.
There's new revenue sources that we're working on with the Massachusetts Environment Act. That's working its way through the legislature.
What new revenue source?
We talked about it before. There's a whole list of them. I don't have them in front of me, but the automobile excise, the meals tax, the lodging tax increases. There's like a whole list.
Yeah, they still need to go through the legislature. There'd be local options that would increase your local receipts.
Yeah,
potentially.
But by how much?
Probably not a budget saver.
Yeah.
But again, every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Because we're actually not far apart. So
if this year we're not.
For this year, yeah, but that's because this year we're eating up. It was around what, 700,000 or so of excess levy capacity, and we're going to have no excess levy capacity after this year. Yeah. So
it's another way to look at that. Excess levy capacity on this.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell much more on the operating budget because there'll be more discussions to come, but
Yeah.
I just want to just quickly touch on the overall capital plan. You know, this is where it currently sits, showing about $3 million in exempt borrowing. Want to put out there that that's a fair amount more than last year. That debt expense, if that was all approved, the debt carrying cost for that $3 million is $360,000 per year in debt service. That adds to your debt mountain. The existing debt, the townhouse is gray, and you can see it. You know, it tails off over time. But the yellow is what's in the capital plan. What's in the capital plan doesn't necessarily have. It's not been vetted for affordability or policy. It's just it's a compilation of what's been submitted.
Yeah. What's the green?
The green is that's approved but unborrowed. And two of the items that we're going to include in the town meeting warrant will rescind some of that green.
Okay.
It's about $800,000+ in library funds that are not needed that we can rescind and get that off the books. $25,000 in some older elder housing project for windows or something, but $25,000 that I can remove that green. But with some tweaking in some of what we talked about tonight, if Farm Pond was deferred and chased grants, if Jameson Field renovation was deferred, if we use more free cash than originally proposed, which we need to do, we can drop that borrowing down to $2 million by spending more free cash and deferring some projects and chasing after grants. And Paul, makes a good point that the high school roof project, that is a project that is eligible for MSBA funding. That the schools would need to be chasing after if they were to wanting to get that grant funding. But that's the type of project they can fund.
Let me just add to this discussion that a number of longtime residents of the town have moved out of the town. And in talking to them, how sad it is to see them go and blah, blah, blah. One of the things that almost everybody has said is the taxes are too high here compared to the taxes in other communities. And so while they don't want to leave Sherborn, it's cheaper for them to move to like Newton or some other place, Dartmouth, a lot of people moving, than it is to stay in the town. And when we are looking at the numbers you have there, we got to be mindful of the fact, we're talking about people who have cared enough about this community, who have been serving on volunteer boards and committees and so on. We don't want to drive people out by doing a general operating override. So I like what Stephen had said before about finding ways to make use of other funding sources. I like what Jeremy has been saying about pursuing grants. I like deferring things to the extent that we can, to the extent that we have to. And have to me means doing everything possible to avoid an override this year, next year, and in the foreseeable future. Because if we say to people, as Stephen just said, oh, we're not going to have an override this year, but we'll probably have one next year, then the person who's thinking of, should I sell my house and move to Newton, they're going to say, well, I might as well do it now, because even though we're not gonna have an override this year. I'm still paying taxes too much this year. And I'm told the taxes are gonna be going up next year. It's like the wrong message.
You know, our taxes are high because there aren't enough of us in town, given the area that we have. I mean, we are subsidizing a lot of open space. And the same people who maybe are moving out because they can't afford the taxes, and I totally appreciate the problem there. Are the same people that have been enjoying all this open space all this time.
Yes.
And so, I mean, it's just the reality.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it's like, yes, I agree that we don't want to increase our taxes, but it's the reality of the situation, and this is, a drumbeat that many advisory chairs have been saying over the past several years, which is that if we don't increase the number of tax-paying entities in town, your tax bills are not going to go down. It's not going to get cheaper to run the town, right? So your only options are to increase the number of tax-paying entities, which is to say new growth, or decrease services. There's no.
Yeah, and the only way, I mean, Jake Auchincloss pointed this out rightfully at the last time we were kind of having a little get together with him. He said, you don't want to build out because you have all this beautiful open space. The only way is building up. So, I mean, we're not going to have high rises in Sherborn anytime soon. We don't have water, we don't have sewer, but building the denser housing on Coolidge is one little step in that direction. But I mean, it's a conundrum. There's no easy way out of it.
No, there is no easy way. I mean, and I get it, right? And I think that ultimately it's that we just have to make sure that all of the voters in town have their eyes open to the situation and that they are making an informed choice, right? Which is when we decide that in a couple of years, next year, 2 years from now, hopefully not this year, that the choice of an override is on the table, then it's like they need to know what it is that they're voting for and why we are in this position, And I've spent enough time on advisory and now on select board to be pretty confident that most of our budget makers do not have a whole bunch of useless fluff in their budgets. I think we've done a pretty good job of paring that down, I mean, you could make the argument that the way that our free cash has been going up because of our budget surpluses each year, that it's like, oh well, that means that we've been overtaxing the residents. But if you look at the amount of budget surplus each year relative to the town's entire budget, I mean, it's like 1% or something, I mean, that's a pretty tight budget, I think we're doing pretty well. It's just that everything's getting more expensive and everyone's dealing with it, and it's just like everybody, just not just your taxes, but just your groceries, your utilities, like everybody's feeling it. Everyone knows that everything's getting more expensive. And it's just like, we can't magically make it less expensive to run the town, this.
And if one of our, basic 2-acre lots in Sherborn were in Wellesley, there would be 6 houses on that land.
Right.
6 big houses, cheek to jowl.
Right. Yeah, no, that's the thing, is that people move here because of the lack of density and because of the open space, right? And that's going to come with a high tax bill. I'm sorry, So that's going to happen. We're going to do what we can to try to limit that, but eventually we're gonna make the choice up to the voters.
That's basically what we're up against, and some people choose to stay here and live a very simple life with no extra expenses in order to have the open space, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So can I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Maybe a little out of order, but I have a devious plan.
All right, consent agenda, all in favor?
I,
And can I move to adjourn?
Yeah, as long as there's
do you have any
nothing.
more important?
No, I just wanted to, one brief one, I guess. Been trying to find a partner to share assessing resources with and staffing. I don't have any good news to share, unfortunately. I think it may be time to test the waters to see if we can find a part-time director of assessing.
Okay.
So I'd like to, to get that advertised and see if we can find somebody who can help 3 days a week.
Okay.
And that's what's suggested other than the board chair. Okay. What's been included in the FY27 budget. So I mean, we'll keep at it, but we need a partner.
Then we might find an assessor who's wants to semi-retire and cut back.
Yeah.
So Holliston wasn't interested in sharing.
It's just not getting traction. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel badly, not providing the support to the board of assessors that they need. So I feel like we need to pursue this avenue as well.
So I found an organization at the MMA. Jeremy and I were at the MMA convention. I was walking down this trade show, and there was this Massachusetts Association of Assessors. And there were people there talking about what we're just talking about. It was like, wow. So there's like a whole organization out there of
Yeah, we would utilize their, they probably have a listserv or a website where they have job postings. Could reach out to them to see if they are aware of anybody that needs that sort of that level of employment. So,
Okay. Yeah,
for me.
do it. Motion to adjourn is still on the table.
yes.
Second.
All in favor?